The crystal champagne flute shattered against marble, a sound like a gunshot in the grand ballroom of the Westridge Manor. Emily Carter didn't flinch. She'd heard worse. But when Vanessa Hawthorne's manicured hand came up fast, aiming to slap her across the face in front of 200 people, Emily's body went still. The kind of still you learn when someone's aiming something deadlier than a hand at you. The slap never landed. A man in black caught Vanessa's wrist mid-swing, silent, precise, like he'd calculated the trajectory before Vanessa even decided to move. The room sucked in its breath. Vanessa's face twisted, humiliated, furious. She yanked her arm free and hissed one sentence that would obliterate Emily's entire world. "Get her out of here, now!" Emily was escorted out through the service entrance like trash. By morning, every hospital in the city had her name flagged, blacklisted, erased. They thought she was just a nurse they could destroy. They had no idea what she'd survived before. If you want to see how a woman they tried to bury comes back and takes everything from them, stay with me until the end. Drop a comment with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Emily Carter had worked the Hawthorne estate for 6 months before the gala. Private care. Discreet. The kind of job where you see everything and say nothing. She'd been hired to manage Eleanor Hawthorne's medications. The family matriarch, 83, sharp as a scalpel, meaner than most combat officers Emily had ever met. Eleanor didn't need much. Blood pressure checks, insulin timing. But she liked having someone around who didn't flinch when she snapped orders. Emily didn't flinch at much. She'd learned that in Kandahar, in a field hospital made of canvas and fear, where you either moved fast or people died. She'd left that life 5 years ago, traded combat boots for scrubs, but the training never left. The way she moved through rooms, efficient, aware, always scanning. The way she kept her voice level no matter what was happening. People mistook it for passivity. They were wrong. The Hawthornes barely noticed her. To them, she was furniture. Useful, replaceable, invisible. She overheard everything. Business calls in the hallway. Arguments about stock manipulation. Whispered concerns about quarterly earnings that didn't match the public reports. Eleanor's son, Gregory, had a gambling problem he hid behind charity donations. Vanessa, his wife, spent more time with her personal trainer than her kids. Emily absorbed it all, filed it away, said nothing. That was the job. The gala was supposed to be simple. Eleanor wasn't attending, so Emily's shift was light. Just monitor the house, make sure the matriarch's evening routine stayed on track. But Vanessa had insisted Emily come to the event. "We need medical staff on site," she'd said, though Emily knew it was really about appearances. A nurse in the background made the Hawthornes look responsible, caring. Emily wore her cleanest scrubs, stayed near the service hall, kept her head down. The ballroom was a cathedral of wealth. Chandeliers the size of small cars. A string quartet playing something European and expensive. Women in gowns that cost more than Emily's annual salary. Men in tuxedos, laughing too loud, drinks in hand. Emily stood by the far wall, near the kitchen corridor, watching. She'd been to worse parties, military galas where everyone pretended the war wasn't still happening. At least here, the danger was just social. Then the champagne tower collapsed. It happened fast. A waiter, young, nervous, maybe his first high-profile event, misjudged a tray. The glasses tumbled, a cascade of crystal and liquid across the floor. Vanessa Hawthorne, standing 3 feet away in a white gown that probably cost 15 grand, got splashed. Not soaked. Splashed. A few drops on the hem, a streak across her arm. She screamed like she'd been shot. The room went quiet. The quartet stopped mid-note. Every head turned. Vanessa's face went red, then white, then red again. She spun on the waiter, who was already on his knees trying to pick up glass with shaking hands. "You idiot! Do you know what you've done?" The waiter stammered an apology. Vanessa wasn't listening. She was locked in, the way people get when they've been embarrassed and need to destroy something to feel powerful again. She grabbed a glass from a passing tray and hurled it. It missed the waiter, hit the floor, shattered. Emily moved without thinking. Old instincts. She stepped forward, placed herself between Vanessa and the waiter and said, "Ma'am, let's get you cleaned up." Wrong move. Vanessa's eyes locked onto her. You're supposed to be watching the staff. You let this happen. Emily kept her voice calm. I'm medical staff, Mrs. Hawthorne. I can help. I don't need help from you. Vanessa's hand came up fast. Emily saw it coming. She dodged worse, but she didn't move. She just stood there, because moving would have made it worse, and she knew how these things went. The slap would land, Vanessa would feel vindicated, and Emily would go back to being invisible. Except the slap didn't land. A hand, male, strong, precise, caught Vanessa's wrist mid-swing. The man in black. Emily had noticed him earlier, standing near the entrance, watching everything with the kind of stillness that made you think he was ex-military or private security. He wasn't part of the catering staff. He wasn't a guest. He was just there. Now he was holding Vanessa's wrist like it was a weapon he'd just disarmed. The room inhaled. Vanessa yanked her arm free, her face twisted with humiliation and rage. She turned to Gregory, who was standing near the bar, pretending not to see. Gregory, are you going to let this happen? Gregory looked uncomfortable. He waved over 2 security guards. Escort the nurse out and get her information. We'll be filing a formal complaint. Emily didn't argue. She knew how this worked. She walked toward the service exit, flanked by 2 men in suits who avoided eye contact. Behind her, Vanessa was already spinning the story to the remaining guests, her voice shrill and victimized. Emily caught fragments. Attacked me, completely unhinged. Can you believe the staff they hire these days? The man in black watched her leave. His eyes followed her all the way to the door. Emily didn't know why, didn't care. She just wanted to get out, get home, and forget this ever happened. By the time she reached her apartment, a studio in a neighborhood the Hawthorns would never visit, her phone was buzzing. 3 missed calls from the agency that placed her with the family. She called back. Emily, what happened? The voice on the other end belonged to Sandra, the placement coordinator. She sounded panicked. A guest threw a tantrum. I tried to de-escalate. They kicked me out. They're saying you assaulted Mrs. Hawthorne. Emily's stomach dropped. That's not what happened. I believe you, but it doesn't matter. They've already filed a report with the medical board, and they've sent a letter to every agency in the city. You're blacklisted, Emily. I'm sorry. Blacklisted? For what? I didn't touch her. They have witnesses, 12 of them, all saying the same thing. You need to lawyer up. Emily hung up. She sat on her couch, staring at the wall. Blacklisted. In nursing, that was a death sentence. No hospital would touch her. No agency would place her. She could fight it, maybe, but that took time and money she didn't have. The Hawthorns had both. They could bury her in paperwork and legal fees until she gave up. She thought about calling her old unit. Some of her buddies from Kandahar were still in, still connected. But what would they do? This wasn't a war zone. This was just rich people being cruel because they could. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but instinct, maybe paranoia, made her pick up. Emily Carter? The voice was male, calm, familiar. Who's this? The man who stopped the slap. Emily sat up. How did you get my number? I know people. We need to talk. I don't think so. You've been blacklisted. Every hospital in the city has your name flagged. The Hawthorns made sure of that. You'll never work in a legitimate facility again. Emily's jaw tightened. What do you want? I'm offering you a job. Doing what? What you're trained to do, just not where you're used to doing it. Emily hung up. 3 days later, she was out of money. The agency stopped calling. The hospital jobs she'd applied to, positions she was overqualified for, sent automated rejections within minutes. She called a friend who worked at a clinic in the next county. I'm sorry, your name's flagged in the system. I can't help you. The man in black called again. This time, Emily listened. They met at a diner on the edge of the city, the kind of place that stayed open all night and didn't ask questions. He was already in a booth when she arrived, black coffee in front of him, no food. He stood when she approached, polite, old school. Victor Hale, he said, extending a hand. Emily shook it. His grip was firm, controlled. Military, she thought, or something close. You want to tell me what this is about? She asked, sliding into the booth. Victor sat back down, studied her for a moment. You were in the service, Afghanistan, trauma unit. You did 3 tours before you got out. Emily's eyes narrowed. You ran a background check on me? I did. You're good. Better than good. You've worked under fire, made calls most doctors wouldn't make, saved lives in situations where saving lives shouldn't have been possible. And now you're blacklisted because you stood between a rich woman and her tantrum. That about covers it. I run a facility, off the grid. We handle cases that can't go to hospitals, gunshot wounds, stab wounds, people who need medical care but can't risk the questions that come with it. Emily leaned back. You're talking about criminal work. I'm talking about survival. The people I work with, they're not all criminals. Some are. Some are just people who got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. They need help. You can provide it. And if I say no, then you go back to your apartment and wait for the Hawthorns to finish destroying you. They won't stop with blacklisting. They'll come after your certifications, your references, everything. By the time they're done, you won't even be able to work as a paramedic. Emily stared at him. You watched me that night, at the gala. You didn't just happen to be there. Victor nodded. I was there for someone else. But I noticed you. The way you moved. The way you stayed calm when everyone else was losing it. You move like someone who's been in war. I have been. Then you know what this is. Another kind of battlefield. Different enemy. Same rules. Emily looked out the window. The city lights blurred in the rain. She thought about Kandahar. The dust, the heat, the sound of mortars in the distance. She'd left that world behind. But maybe it hadn't left her. When do I start? Victor slid a card across the table. An address, no name, no phone number. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m., come alone. The facility was in an industrial part of the city, buried between a closed auto shop and a warehouse that looked abandoned. Emily parked 2 blocks away, walked the rest. The building had no sign, no lights, just a steel door with a keypad. She knocked. The door opened. Victor stood on the other side, dressed the same as before. Black jacket, dark jeans, boots. He stepped aside. Emily walked in. The inside was cleaner than she expected. Concrete floors, fluorescent lights, medical equipment that looked new. There were 3 beds, all empty. A surgical tray, monitors, cabinets stocked with supplies. Who funds this? Emily asked. People who need it to exist. Not an answer. Emily let it go. You'll work nights, mostly. I'll call when we have someone coming in. You stabilize them, patch them up, send them on their way. No names, no records. You get paid in cash. How much? Victor named a figure. It was more than she'd made at the Hawthorne estate, more than most hospitals paid. And if I get caught? You won't. I've been running this for 5 years. No one knows it exists. Emily walked to one of the beds, ran her hand along the frame. It felt real, solid. This wasn't some back alley butcher shop. This was a real medical setup. Whoever Victor was, he wasn't playing around. First case comes in tonight, Victor said. You ready? Emily nodded. The patient arrived at midnight. 2 men carried him in, one holding his shoulders, the other his legs. Gunshot wound to the abdomen. Clean entry, no exit. The man was conscious, groaning, pale. Emily moved fast. She got him on the bed, cut away his shirt, assessed the wound. How long ago? She asked. Hour, maybe less. Emily gloved up, prepped the area. The bullet was lodged deep, but it hadn't hit anything major. Liver looked intact, no arterial bleeding. She could work with this. Victor handed her instruments without being asked. He knew the rhythm. He'd done this before. Emily worked in silence. Extract the bullet, clean the wound, suture, bandage. The man passed out halfway through, which made it easier. By the time she finished, the bleeding had stopped. His vitals were stable. He'll need antibiotics, Emily said, stripping off her gloves. And rest. No movement for at least 48 hours. Victor nodded. The 2 men who brought the patient in lifted him again, carried him out. No thank you, no names, just gone. Emily washed her hands, staring at the sink. Her reflection looked tired, older than she felt. You did good, Victor said. Emily didn't respond. Over the next 2 weeks, she treated 6 more patients. A stab wound, a broken arm from a fight, another gunshot, a woman with a miscarriage who couldn't go to a hospital because she had warrants. Emily didn't ask questions. She just worked. Victor was always there, watching, assisting. He didn't talk much, but when he did, it was precise. efficient. He reminded her of the officers she'd worked with overseas, men who understood that words were tools, not decorations. One night, after a particularly rough case, a kid, maybe 19, who'd been beaten so badly his face was unrecognizable. Emily sat on the edge of a bed and let herself feel it, the exhaustion, the weight. Victor handed her a bottle of water. "You okay?" "No." He sat down next to her. Not close, just present. "This job," Emily said. "It's not what I thought I'd be doing." "What did you think you'd be doing?" "Something that mattered." Victor looked at her. "You just saved that kid's life. That doesn't matter?" Emily didn't answer. 3 weeks in, the power cut. No warning, no flicker, just instant darkness. Emily was in the middle of stitching a laceration when the lights died. She froze. Then she heard it. Gunfire. Upstairs. Controlled. Coordinated. Not random. Military grade. Victor was already moving. He grabbed a flashlight, tossed one to Emily. "Stay here." Like hell. She followed him into the hallway. The gunfire stopped. Footsteps. Heavy. Multiple people. Victor pulled a gun from his jacket. Emily's heart kicked up. She'd seen combat, but this was different. This was close, personal. "Back door," Victor said. "Now." They moved fast. The facility had a rear exit that led to a concrete garage. Victor pushed through first, scanned the space. Empty. He turned back to Emily. The shot came from above. Clean, precise. Victor jerked, stumbled, hit the ground. Emily dropped beside him. Blood. Lots of it. Shoulder wound, high and lateral, arterial clip. Maybe. She pressed her hands against it. "How long?" Victor's face was white. 20 minutes? Maybe less. "We need to move you." "No time." Emily looked around. The garage had nothing. No supplies, no equipment, just concrete and shadows. She dragged him toward the corner, behind a stack of old crates. She ripped off his jacket, tore his shirt, assessed the wound. Bullet went through. Exit wound messy but manageable. She needed to stop the bleeding, but she had nothing to work with. She used his belt as a tourniquet, tied it tight above the wound. Victor hissed in pain but didn't pass out. Good. She needed him conscious. "Stay with me," she said. Victor's eyes met hers. "I've been through worse." "Prove it." Footsteps above. Voices. Men searching. Emily worked fast. No tools, no light, just her hands and whatever instinct was left from her tours. She packed the wound with fabric from Victor's shirt, applied pressure, counted seconds. The voices got closer. Victor reached for his gun. Emily shook her head. "Not yet. They'll find us." "Not if I finish this first." She stabilized him. Not perfect, not surgical, but enough to keep him alive for the next hour. She tied off the makeshift bandage, checked his pulse. Still strong. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then a voice, cold and familiar, echoed from upstairs. "Find them, and make sure there's nothing left." Emily's blood went cold. She knew that voice. It was Gregory Hawthorne. Emily's hands stopped moving for half a second. Gregory Hawthorne's voice was unmistakable, smooth, entitled, the same tone he used when ordering staff around at the estate. But here, in this concrete garage with gunfire still ringing in her ears, it sounded different, dangerous. Victor's eyes opened wider. Blood was seeping through the makeshift bandage, but he wasn't focused on that. He was listening. "You know him," Victor said, not a question. "I worked for his family. And now he's here to clean up." Emily pressed harder on the wound. "Why would he come after you?" "Because I know things." Victor's breathing was shallow but controlled. Things that could destroy his family's empire. I didn't realize he knew I had them. Footsteps moved above them, methodical, spreading out. These weren't amateurs. They were searching grid pattern, the way trained operators did. Emily counted at least 4 separate sets of boots, maybe more. "We can't stay here," she whispered. Victor tried to sit up, failed. "There's a tunnel. Far corner. Behind the toolbox." Emily looked where he indicated. A rusted red toolbox stood against the wall, large enough to hide a person. She didn't see a tunnel entrance. "You have to move it," Victor said. "The door's underneath. Can you walk?" Does it matter? Fair point. Emily grabbed his good arm, hauled him up. He bit back a sound that would have been a scream if he'd let it out. She half dragged, half carried him toward the toolbox. He was heavy, solid muscle, not fat, and every step sent fresh blood running down his shoulder. Above them, someone shouted, "Check the garage!" Emily moved faster. She got Victor to the wall, propped him against it, then shoved the toolbox aside. It scraped loud against concrete. Underneath was a steel hatch with a recessed handle. She pulled it open. Darkness below. A ladder leading down into what looked like a narrow tunnel, barely wide enough for one person. "You first," Victor said. "You're bleeding out. And if you go first, I'll pass out and fall on top of you. Move." No time to argue. Emily climbed down. The tunnel was tight, low-ceilinged, smelled like rust and old water. She descended fast, hit the bottom, looked up. Victor was already climbing down one-handed, his face white as bone in the dim light from above. He made it 3 rungs before his grip slipped. Emily caught him, barely. His weight slammed into her, and they both hit the tunnel floor hard. Pain shot through her shoulder where his elbow connected. She gasped, but didn't make a sound. Above them, the hatch was still open. Victor reached up with his good arm, pulled it shut. The tunnel went pitch black. Emily heard boots enter the garage, heard voices muffled through steel and concrete, heard someone kick the toolbox. Metal scraped, then silence. She waited. Victor's breathing was ragged beside her. She fumbled in the dark, found his shoulder, pressed down again. The blood was warm, sticky, too much of it. "How far does this tunnel go?" she whispered. 2 blocks. Exits in a parking structure. Old subway access from before they rerouted the line. "Can you make it?" "I don't have a choice." Emily pulled out her phone. The screen lit up the tunnel in harsh blue light. It was narrow, maybe 4 feet wide, concrete walls slick with moisture. The ceiling was so low she'd have to crouch to walk. Victor would have to crawl. She helped him up. He leaned against the wall, breathing hard. She could see the pain in his face now, tight around his eyes and mouth. But he wasn't complaining. He just started moving. They went slow. Emily led, keeping the phone light aimed forward. Victor followed, one hand on her shoulder for balance. Every few steps he'd pause, catch his breath, then keep going. The tunnel stretched ahead of them, endless. "Why did you help me?" Emily asked. She needed to keep him talking, keep him conscious. "At the gala?" "Yeah." Victor was quiet for a moment. "I don't like bullies." "That's it?" "That's enough." They walked in silence for another minute. Then Victor spoke again, his voice tight with pain. "My sister was a nurse. Army. She deployed to Iraq in 2006. Some colonel's wife accused her of stealing medication. No proof, just her word against my sister's. They discharged her, dishonorable. She couldn't get work anywhere after that." "What happened to her?" "She killed herself 2 years later." Emily stopped walking, turned to look at him. Victor's face was unreadable in the phone light, but his eyes were hard. "I'm sorry," she said. "Don't be. Just don't let them do to you what they did to her." Emily turned back around, kept walking. The tunnel sloped upward now. She could see light ahead, faint, gray, filtering down from somewhere above. They reached a ladder, newer than the one they'd climbed down, with rubberized grips on the rungs. Above it was another hatch, this one with a manual wheel lock. "Can you climb?" Emily asked. Victor looked at the ladder, looked at his shoulder. "No." "Then I'll go first, get it open, come back for you." "If there's someone up there." "Then I'll handle it." She didn't wait for him to argue. She climbed fast, reached the hatch, spun the wheel. It was stiff, but it moved. She pushed the hatch open a crack, listened. Nothing. No voices, no footsteps, just the distant hum of traffic. She pushed it all the way open and climbed out. The parking structure was old, mostly empty, lit by flickering fluorescent tubes. Concrete pillars. Oil stains. A few cars scattered across 3 levels. No people. Emily climbed back down. Victor was sitting at the base of the ladder now, his back against the wall. His face was gray. "Still with me?" she asked. "Barely." "I'm going to get you up this ladder. It's going to hurt." "Everything hurts." She got behind him, braced herself, and pushed. Victor climbed one-handed, using his legs more than his arms. Emily stayed below, ready to catch him if he fell. He didn't. He made it to the top, collapsed onto the concrete floor of the parking structure. Emily climbed up after him. She closed the hatch, spun the wheel lock, then knelt beside Victor. His pulse was fast, thready. He needed a hospital. "We can't go to a hospital," Victor said, reading her mind. "You need surgery, real surgery. I can't do that here." "There's a place, 30 minutes north, safe house, medical setup, better than the facility." "Can you make it 30 minutes? Victor didn't answer right away. Then he nodded. "I have to." Emily helped him stand. They made it to the stairwell, down 2 levels to where Victor's car was parked. A black SUV, nondescript, no plates. He handed her the keys. "You drive." Emily got him into the passenger seat, buckled him in, then slid behind the wheel. The engine started smooth. She pulled out of the structure, merged into late-night traffic, headed north. Victor gave her directions in short bursts. "Turn here, straight for 2 miles, exit at the overpass." His voice got weaker with each instruction. Emily kept checking his pulse at red lights. Still there, still fighting. They left the city behind. Streetlights gave way to darkness. Trees crowded the road on both sides. Emily's phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. At the next red light, she checked. 7 missed calls, all from unknown numbers, 3 voicemails. She played the first one on speaker. "Miss Carter, this is Detective Morris with the city police. We need you to come in for questioning regarding an incident at an undisclosed medical facility. Call me back immediately." Emily deleted it, played the second. "Emily, it's Sandra. The police came to the agency asking about you. What the hell is going on? Call me." Deleted. Third voicemail. "This is Officer Brennan. We have a warrant for your arrest in connection with illegal medical practice and aiding known criminals. Turn yourself in. Don't make this worse." Victor's eyes were closed, but he was listening. They moved fast. How did they even know about the facility? Gregory Hawthorne. He's connected. Police, city council, probably half the judges in the county. Once he decided to move, he moved everywhere at once. Emily's jaw tightened. "So what, I'm just supposed to disappear?" "For now, until we figure out how deep this goes." "We?" Victor opened his eyes. "You saved my life. That makes us a team." Emily didn't respond. She focused on the road. The safe house appeared 15 minutes later, a cabin set back from the main road, hidden behind a wall of pine trees. No lights, no neighbors for miles. She parked, got Victor inside. The cabin was small but equipped. Medical supplies in a locked cabinet. A surgical table in what should have been a dining room. Generator-powered lights. Whoever set this up knew what they were doing. Emily got Victor onto the table, cut away what was left of his shirt. The wound looked worse now, edges inflamed, bleeding sluggish but steady. She grabbed supplies, prepped the area, numbed it with local anesthetic. "This is going to hurt anyway," she said. "I know." She worked for an hour, cleaned the wound, debrided dead tissue, stitched the entry and exit, bandaged it properly. Victor stayed conscious the whole time, his jaw locked, hands gripping the table edge. When she finished, his pulse was stronger. Color was coming back to his face. "You're better at this than you let on," he said. "I had good teachers." Victor sat up slowly, testing his range of motion, limited but functional. "Thank you." Emily started cleaning up. "You said you know things about the Hawthorns. What kind of things?" Victor was quiet for a moment. Then he stood, walked to a safe built into the wall, punched in a code. The door swung open. Inside were USB drives, file folders, photographs. He pulled out a folder, handed it to Emily. 6 months ago, a man named Marcus Lang came to me, former CFO of Hawthorne Industries. He'd been fired for asking too many questions about discrepancies in their financial reports. He was dying, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he wanted to make things right before he went. Emily opened the folder. Inside were spreadsheets, email printouts, scanned documents, numbers that didn't match, transfers to offshore accounts, fake invoices. "He brought me everything," Victor continued. "Proof that Gregory Hawthorne has been embezzling from his own company for years. Millions of dollars. He's been covering it up by inflating quarterly earnings reports, falsifying shareholder documents, even bribing auditors. Why didn't Marcus go to the police?" "He tried. They buried it. The Hawthorns have half the department on payroll. So he came to me. Thought maybe I could get it to someone who'd actually do something with it. And did you? I was working on it. Had a contact at the FBI. Federal case, outside local jurisdiction. But before I could hand it over, Marcus died. And then someone torched his apartment, destroyed everything he had there. I'm the only one left with copies. Emily closed the folder. So Gregory came after you tonight because he found out. I think Marcus's daughter told him. She didn't know what her father gave me, but she knew he'd been talking to someone. Gregory probably pressured her, threatened her. She gave him my name. And now he's trying to kill you before you can release it. Victor nodded. He can't let this get out. It's not just embezzlement. If the shareholders find out, the company collapses. If federal investigators get involved, he goes to prison. He'll do anything to stop that. Emily sat down on the edge of the table. Her phone buzzed again. Another call. Another voicemail. She turned it off. They're going to keep coming after you, she said. I know. And now they'll come after me too, because I helped you. Victor met her eyes. I'm sorry. You didn't sign up for this. Emily laughed, short and bitter. I signed up the second I said yes to your job. I knew it was illegal. I just didn't think it would blow up this fast. You can still walk away. To what? I'm blacklisted. I've got a warrant out. The only people who'd hire me now are worse than you. I'm not that bad. You run an underground clinic for criminals. For people who need help. Semantics. Victor smiled despite the pain. Fair. Emily stood, paced the length of the room. Her mind was working through options, scenarios, outcomes. Military training kicking in. When you're trapped, you don't panic. You assess. You adapt. You find an exit. We need leverage, she said. We have leverage. The files. Files aren't enough. Gregory will discredit them, say they're fake. He's got money, lawyers, connections. He'll bury this the same way he buried Marcus's investigation. Then what do you suggest? Emily stopped pacing. We need witnesses, people who worked with him, people who know what he's been doing and are willing to talk. Everyone who knows is either on his payroll or too scared to speak up. Not everyone. Victor frowned. Who? Eleanor Hawthorne. Victor stared at her. The matriarch? She's 83 and loyal to the family. She's loyal to the family name, not to Gregory. I worked with her for 6 months. She's sharp. She knows everything that happens in that house, and she hates being lied to. You think she'll turn on her own son? If she knows he's destroying the family legacy? Yeah, I do. Victor considered this. How do you plan to get to her? The estate's locked down, security everywhere, and after tonight, they'll be expecting you. Emily pulled out her phone, turned it back on, scrolled through her contacts until she found the one she wanted. I know someone who can get me in. She hit dial. The phone rang 3 times, then a woman's voice, older, sharp. Emily? It's 2 a.m. I know, Margaret. I'm sorry. Margaret Sullivan was the head housekeeper at the Hawthorne estate. She'd been there for 30 years, longer than anyone. She'd hired Emily, trained her, covered for her when Vanessa threw her fits. She was the only person in that house Emily trusted. Are you all right? Margaret asked. I heard what happened at the gala. Vanessa's been spreading awful things about you. It's worse than that. There's a warrant out for my arrest. Silence on the other end. Then, what did you do? Nothing. But I know something about Gregory. Something that could destroy the family. And I need to talk to Eleanor. Eleanor won't see you. Not after what happened. She will if you ask her. Emily, Margaret, please. I know how this sounds, but Gregory's been stealing from the company. Millions of dollars. And he's trying to kill people to cover it up. Eleanor needs to know. Margaret was quiet for a long time. Emily could hear her breathing, thinking. Then, can you prove it? Yes. Another pause. There's a service entrance on the east side. The security camera has been broken for a week. Maintenance keeps forgetting to fix it. If you come tomorrow night, 9 p.m., I'll let you in. But you get 10 minutes with Eleanor. That's it. Thank you. Don't make me regret this. The line went dead. Victor was watching her. You really think this will work? I think it's the only shot we have. Emily spent the next day preparing. She went through the files Victor had given her, memorized the key details, dates, amounts, account numbers. She couldn't bring the physical documents into the estate, too risky. But she could bring the information in her head. Victor stayed at the safe house, recovering. His shoulder was stabilizing, but he was still weak. Emily changed his bandages twice, checked for infection. Clean so far. You should stay here, she told him. Rest. And let you walk into a trap alone? It's not a trap. You don't know that. I know Margaret. She won't sell me out. Victor didn't look convinced, but he didn't argue. By the time evening came, Emily was ready. She dressed in dark clothes, black jeans, a jacket, boots, nothing that would stand out. She drove Victor's SUV back toward the city, parked 3 blocks from the Hawthorne estate, walked the rest. The neighborhood was quiet. Old money. Big houses set back from the road, separated by walls and hedges. Security cameras everywhere, but most of them were just for show. Emily knew which ones were real. She reached the East Service entrance at 8:55. The gate was closed, but not locked. She slipped through, moved along the tree line toward the house. The camera above the door was dark. Broken, just like Margaret said. Emily knocked. Soft. 3 taps. The door opened. Margaret stood there, older than Emily remembered, her hair grayer, her face more lined, but her eyes were the same, steady, no nonsense. 10 minutes, Margaret said. Emily stepped inside. The house was quiet. Most of the staff had gone home for the night. Margaret led Emily through the service corridors, past the kitchen, up a back staircase. They stopped outside Eleanor's sitting room. She's expecting you, Margaret said, but she's not happy about it. I wouldn't be either. Margaret knocked, then opened the door. Eleanor Hawthorne sat in a high-backed chair near the window, a book in her lap, reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked up as Emily entered. Miss Carter, she said. Her voice was cold. You have 10 minutes. Use them wisely. Margaret closed the door behind Emily. Emily stepped forward, stopped a respectful distance away. Thank you for seeing me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because Margaret insisted, and because I'm curious what lies you're planning to tell. I'm not here to lie. Then what are you here for? Emily took a breath. Your son is embezzling from Hawthorne Industries. He's been doing it for years, millions of dollars. He's falsifying reports, bribing auditors, covering it up. And when someone tried to expose him, he had them killed. Eleanor's expression didn't change. That's a serious accusation. It's true. I have proof. Where's this proof? Safe. But I can tell you the details. Account numbers, transfer dates, names of the people involved. Eleanor set her book aside. Go on. Emily recited everything she'd memorized. The offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, the fake invoices from shell companies, the quarterly reports that inflated earnings by 30%, the auditors who signed off on fraudulent documents. Eleanor listened without interrupting. Her face was stone. When Emily finished, the room was silent. Then Eleanor spoke. If what you're saying is true, why come to me? Why not go to the authorities? Because your son owns half the authorities. The police won't touch him, but you can. You want me to turn on my own son. I want you to save your family's name. If this gets out, and it will, Hawthorne Industries collapses. Shareholders lose everything. Your husband's legacy is destroyed. But if you act first, if you bring it to the board, if you force Gregory out before the feds get involved, you can contain it. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. You're asking me to choose between my son and my family's reputation. I'm asking you to do what you know is right. Eleanor stood. She was shorter than Emily, frailer, but there was steel in her spine. She walked to the window, looked out at the estate grounds. Gregory was always ambitious, she said quietly. Too ambitious. His father warned him, told him greed would be his downfall, but Gregory never listened. She turned back to Emily. If I do this, if I go to the board, my son goes to prison. Yes. And you expect me to be all right with that? I expect you to care more about the hundreds of employees who will lose their jobs when the company collapses, the shareholders who will lose their investments, the family name your husband built over 40 years. Eleanor's jaw tightened. You presume a lot, Ms. Carter. I worked for you for 6 months. I know how you think. You don't know me at all. Then prove me wrong. Choose Gregory. Protect him. Let him destroy everything your husband worked for. See how that sits with you. Eleanor's eyes flashed. For a moment, Emily thought she'd gone too far. Then Eleanor walked to her desk, picked up her phone, dialed. "This is Eleanor Hawthorne," she said into the receiver. "I need to speak with the chairman of the board, tonight. Yes, it's urgent." She hung up, looked at Emily. "You have your proof ready?" Emily nodded. "I can have it delivered within the hour. Do it, and then leave. I don't want to see you again." "Understood." Emily turned to go. "Miss Carter?" She stopped, looked back. Eleanor's face was hard, but there was something else there too. Respect, maybe, or just exhaustion. "You were right," Eleanor said. "About one thing." "What's that?" "I do care about the family name more than I care about Gregory." Emily left the room. Margaret was waiting in the hallway. "How did it go?" Margaret asked. "She's calling the board." Margaret's eyes widened. "You got her to turn on Gregory?" "I gave her the choice. She made it herself." Margaret walked Emily back downstairs, back to the service entrance. "You know he'll come after you for this." "He's already coming after me." "Then be careful." Emily stepped out into the night. The air was cold, sharp. She walked back to the SUV, got in, drove. She called Victor. "It's done." Eleanor agreed. "She's calling the board tonight. I need to get those files to her." "I'll send them, digital copies, encrypted. She'll have them in an hour." Emily felt the tension in her chest loosen. Just a little. "We might actually pull this off." "Don't celebrate yet." He was right. This was just the beginning. Gregory wouldn't go down quietly, but at least now they had a chance. Emily drove back toward the safe house. She was 10 minutes out when she noticed the headlights behind her. Black sedan, keeping pace, not passing. She changed lanes. The sedan changed with her. She sped up. The sedan matched her speed. Emily's pulse kicked up. She reached for her phone, hit Victor's number. "We've got a problem," she said when he answered. "What kind?" "Someone's following me." "How many?" "One car, maybe 2 people." "Lose them." "Working on it." She took the next exit fast, tires squealing. The sedan followed. She turned down a side street, killed her lights, pulled into an alley. The sedan drove past. Kept going. Emily waited. 30 seconds. A minute. Nothing. She exhaled. Then the sedan reversed, stopped at the alley entrance, and 3 men got out. They had guns. Emily threw the SUV into reverse, floored it. The vehicle shot backward, tires screaming against asphalt. One of the men raised his weapon. She cranked the wheel hard, spun the car 90 degrees, slammed it into drive. Gunfire cracked. 2 shots, 3, and the rear window exploded into white fragments. She ducked low, kept her foot down, rocketed out of the alley onto the main street. The sedan was already moving, pulling a tight U-turn to chase. Emily weaved through light traffic, ran a red light, nearly clipped a taxi. Her phone was still connected to Victor. "They're shooting," she said, voice tight but steady. "Where are you?" "Northbound on Garrett, heading toward the industrial zone." "Lead them to the old rail yard. I'll meet you there." "You can barely stand." "I'll manage." 10 minutes. The line went dead. Emily checked the rear view. The sedan was closing the gap, weaving through the same traffic she'd just passed. Professional drivers. They weren't panicking, weren't making mistakes. She pushed the SUV harder, took a sharp right onto a side road that cut through a neighborhood of shuttered warehouses and empty lots. The rail yard came up fast on her left, a sprawl of abandoned tracks, rusted boxcars, and crumbling platforms. She killed the headlights, veered through an open gate, drove deep into the maze of steel and shadow. The sedan followed, headlights sweeping across graffitied metal. Emily parked behind a line of freight containers, killed the engine, grabbed the only weapon she had, a tire iron from under the seat. She slipped out, stayed low, moved toward the cover of a derailed boxcar 20 feet away. The sedan pulled to a stop near the entrance. Doors opened. 3 men got out, all armed, all moving with the kind of coordination that said military or private security. They spread out, covering angles. Emily's heart hammered, but her hand stayed steady. She'd done this before. Different country, different enemy, same rules. Stay quiet, stay patient, wait for the opening. One of the men moved toward the SUV, checked inside, signaled the others. Empty. They started searching, moving methodically through the rail yard. Emily stayed behind the boxcar, counted breaths. 5 in, 5 out. Slowing her pulse. She couldn't take 3 armed men with a tire iron. She needed an advantage. A sound, metal scraping metal, came from the far side of the yard. All three men turned toward it. Victor stepped out from behind a rusted crane, one arm hanging useless at his side, the other holding a pistol. He looked like hell, but he was standing. "Looking for me?" he called out. The men opened fire immediately. Victor dropped behind the crane. Bullets sparked off steel, ricocheted into the darkness. Emily used the noise as cover, moved fast to a different position, circled around behind them. One of the men advanced on Victor's position. The other two held back, covering. Standard tactical formation. Emily came up behind the nearest man, swung the tire iron hard at the back of his knee. He went down with a choked sound. She grabbed his gun as he fell, a Glock, safety off, pivoted and fired twice at the second man, center mass. He dropped. The third man spun toward her, already firing. Emily dove behind a shipping container. Rounds punched through rusted metal, too close. She rolled, came up on the other side, fired back. Missed. He was moving, repositioning. Victor stepped out from the crane, fired 3 times. The third man jerked, stumbled, collapsed. Silence dropped over the rail yard like a weight. Emily stayed behind the container, breathing hard. Her ears rang from the gunfire. She checked the Glock, half a magazine left. Victor limped toward her, his face gray with pain. "You okay?" "Yeah, you?" "I've been better." They checked the 3 men, all down, all dead. Emily felt nothing about it. She'd killed before. It didn't get easier, but it didn't paralyze her either. Just another choice made under pressure. Victor knelt beside one of the bodies, checked pockets, pulled out a phone, a wallet. No ID, no credit cards. Just cash and a key card with no markings. "Professionals," Victor said. "Gregory's not messing around. We need to move. More could be coming." They left the bodies where they fell, took the sedan, newer, faster than the SUV. Emily drove. Victor navigated, directing her away from main roads through neighborhoods that didn't have cameras. "Where are we going?" Emily asked. "Somewhere Gregory can't reach." 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a self-storage facility on the edge of the city. Victor punched in a code at the gate, drove to a unit in the back corner. Inside was a second vehicle, a nondescript gray sedan, along with supplies. Cash, weapons, false IDs. "You've been preparing for this," Emily said. "I've been preparing for worse." They switched cars, left the sedan behind. Victor handed Emily a new phone, still in the package. "Ditch your old one," he said. "They're tracking it." Emily powered down her phone, pulled the SIM card, crushed it under her boot. The new phone came to life with a generic startup screen. No contacts. No history. A ghost. Victor's phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression hardening. "What?" Emily asked. "Message from my FBI contact. Eleanor sent the files. The board's convening an emergency meeting tomorrow morning. They're bringing in federal investigators." "That's good, right?" "It means we're out of time. Gregory knows the walls are closing in. He's going to go scorched earth." "Meaning what?" "Meaning he'll destroy evidence, eliminate witnesses, and disappear before anyone can arrest him." Emily gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Eleanor?" "She's the biggest threat to him right now. If I were Gregory, I'd move on her first." Emily's stomach dropped. "We have to warn her. She won't listen, not to us." "Then we don't ask permission." They drove back toward the Hawthorne estate, taking a route that avoided traffic cameras. Emily's mind was working through scenarios, outcomes, risks. Going back was suicide. The estate would be locked down, security doubled. But leaving Eleanor unprotected was worse. Victor loaded a fresh magazine into his pistol, checked the chamber. His shoulder was bleeding again, seeping through the bandage. He didn't mention it. "You're in no shape to fight," Emily said. "Neither are you. We do it anyway." They parked 2 blocks out, approached on foot. The estate looked quiet from the outside. Lights on in a few windows, security gate closed. Normal. Too normal. Emily felt it before she saw it. The wrongness in the air, the tension. She'd felt it in Kandahar right before ambushes, that prickling awareness that something was about to break. They moved along the perimeter wall, found the same service entrance Emily had used earlier. The gate was open. Not just unlocked. Open. Victor touched her arm, pointed. The security camera above the door, the broken one, was gone, ripped clean off the wall. "Trap," he whispered. Or they already got inside. Emily didn't wait. She pushed through the gate, moved fast and low toward the house. The service door was ajar. No lights inside. No sound. She entered first, Victor behind her. The corridor was empty. Dark. Emily pulled the Glock, swept corners as she advanced. The house felt abandoned, like everyone had just vanished. They reached the kitchen. Margaret was on the floor. Emily's breath caught. She dropped beside the older woman, checked for a pulse. Weak but present. There was blood on the side of Margaret's head, matted in her gray hair. A blow, not a gunshot. "Margaret," Emily whispered, touching her shoulder. Margaret's eyes opened, unfocused. "Emily? I'm here. What happened?" "Men. 4 of them. They came through the front, asking for Eleanor. I told them she was sleeping. They hit me." Her voice cracked. "I couldn't stop them." "Where is she?" "Her sitting room. They went upstairs." Emily looked at Victor. He nodded. "Stay here," Emily told Margaret. "We'll get her." They moved fast, up the back staircase, weapons ready. Emily's training took over completely now, breath control, tunnel vision, hands loose on the gun. She heard voices as they reached the second floor. Male. Aggressive. Eleanor's sitting room door was open. Emily approached from the side, peered in. 4 men, all armed. Eleanor sat in her chair, back straight, face composed. One of the men stood directly in front of her, a pistol in his hand. "Where are the files?" he demanded. "I sent them to the board," Eleanor said, her voice cold and steady. "You're too late." The man backhanded her. Eleanor's head snapped to the side. Blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. Emily moved before thinking. She stepped into the doorway, fired twice. The man who'd hit Eleanor dropped. The other 3 spun toward her. Victor came through the opposite door, fired at the nearest man. Hit him in the shoulder. The man staggered, returned fire. Victor dove behind a bookshelf. Emily dropped the 3rd man with a headshot, pivoted toward the 4th. He was faster. He grabbed Eleanor, yanked her up, used her as a shield. "Drop it," he said, pressing his gun to Eleanor's temple. Emily kept her weapon raised. "Let her go." "You drop yours first." Eleanor's eyes met Emily's. Steady, unafraid. She mouthed 2 words, "Do it." Emily didn't hesitate. She adjusted her aim 2 inches right and fired. The bullet went through the man's eye. He collapsed. Eleanor stumbled but stayed on her feet. Victor emerged from behind the bookshelf, breathing hard. "Clear?" Emily moved through the room, checked each body, all down. "Clear." Eleanor wiped blood from her mouth with the back of her hand. "You came back. You didn't think I would? I thought you'd be smart enough to run." Emily lowered her weapon. "I'm not that smart." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Someone had called the police. Maybe a neighbor, maybe one of the other staff. "We need to go," Victor said. Eleanor shook her head. "I'm not leaving. This is my home." "Gregory will send more," Emily said. "Let him. The board meets in 6 hours. The FBI is already involved. By noon tomorrow, my son will be in custody." Eleanor's voice was granite. "I'll be here when it happens." Emily wanted to argue, but there was no point. Eleanor Hawthorne had made her choice. "Margaret's downstairs," Emily said. "She's hurt. She needs a hospital." "I'll take care of her." The sirens were close now, maybe a minute out. Victor touched Emily's arm. "We're out of time." They left through the back staircase, out the service entrance, into the trees. Police cars screamed past them on the main road, heading toward the estate. Emily and Victor reached their car, drove away in the opposite direction. Emily's hands were shaking now, adrenaline crashing. She gripped the wheel harder to steady them. "You good?" Victor asked. "No. You?" "No." They drove in silence for a while. Victor directed her to another safe house, this one north of the city, a motel that rented by the hour and didn't ask questions. Emily paid cash for a room, helped Victor inside. His shoulder was bleeding heavily now. The stitches had torn. Emily sat him down on the bed, grabbed the first aid kit they'd taken from the storage unit. "You need a real hospital," she said as she cut away the old bandage. "After tomorrow, when Gregory's in custody. You might not make it to tomorrow." "I've survived worse." Emily cleaned the wound again, re-stitched it with shaking hands. She was exhausted, running on fumes and muscle memory. When she finished, Victor was pale but conscious. "Get some sleep," he said. "What about you?" "I'll keep watch." Emily wanted to argue, but her body was shutting down. She collapsed onto the other bed, still dressed, gun within reach. Sleep pulled her under in seconds. She woke to sunlight cutting through thin curtains and the sound of her phone buzzing. The new one Victor had given her. She grabbed it, checked the screen. Unknown number. She answered. "Yeah?" "Ms. Carter, this is Special Agent Devine with the FBI. We need to talk." Emily sat up, instantly alert. "How did you get this number?" "Victor Hale gave it to me. He said you'd want to hear this." "Hear what?" "The board meeting happened this morning. Eleanor Hawthorne presented the evidence. Gregory Hawthorne has been removed as CEO. Federal charges are being filed. Embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder. We have warrants being issued right now." Emily exhaled. "Where is he?" "That's the problem. He's gone. Left the country early this morning on a private jet. We're working with international agencies to track him, but it's going to take time." Emily's jaw tightened. "So he got away." "For now, but we're freezing his assets, issuing alerts. He can't hide forever." "What about the warrant for me?" "Dropped. Eleanor Hawthorne gave a statement clearing you of any wrongdoing. She also mentioned you saved her life last night. The local PD isn't happy, but they're backing off." Emily closed her eyes. Relief flooded through her, so intense it almost hurt. "Thank you," she said. "Don't thank me. Thank Victor. And Emily, watch your back. Gregory's still out there, and men like him, don't forget." The line went dead. Emily stood, walked to the window. Outside, the city sprawled under gray morning light. Somewhere out there, Gregory Hawthorne was running. But he'd lost everything: his company, his reputation, his freedom. She'd been invisible to him once. Just a nurse, just staff. Now she was the reason his empire fell. Victor appeared in the doorway, moving slow but upright. "You heard?" "Yeah." "How do you feel?" Emily thought about it. About the gala, the blacklist, the underground clinic, the gunfights, the bodies. About Eleanor choosing justice over her son. About Margaret lying bleeding on the kitchen floor. About all of it. "Tired," she said. Victor nodded. "Me too." They checked out of the motel, drove back toward the city. Emily's phone buzzed again. This time it was Margaret. "Emily, it's me. I'm at the hospital. Eleanor wanted me to call you." "Are you okay?" "Concussion. They're keeping me overnight, but I'm fine." Margaret paused. "Eleanor wants to see you." "When?" "Now, if you can. She's at the estate. The police are gone. It's just her." Emily looked at Victor. He shrugged. "Your call." She made it. They arrived at the estate an hour later. The front gate was open. No security, no staff. Just Eleanor, standing on the front steps like she was waiting for them. Emily got out of the car, approached slowly. Victor stayed behind, leaning against the hood. Eleanor looked older in daylight, tired. There was a bruise on her cheek where the man had hit her. "Miss Carter," she said. "Mrs. Hawthorne." They stood there for a moment, two women who'd survived the same war from different sides. "I owe you an apology," Eleanor said. Emily blinked. "For what?" "For not seeing what my son had become, for letting it go on as long as it did, for not protecting the people who worked for me. You protected them last night. You chose the company over Gregory. I chose what was right. Finally." Eleanor's voice cracked just slightly. "My husband would have been ashamed of how long it took me. He'd be proud of what you did." Eleanor nodded, composed herself. "The board wants to reinstate Hawthorne Industries under new leadership. Clean house. Start fresh. They're offering me a position as interim CEO until they find someone permanent. Will you take it?" "I don't know yet." Eleanor looked past Emily toward Victor. "Your friend. He's the one who had the evidence?" "Yes." "I'd like to thank him." Emily waved Victor over. He walked up, stopped beside Emily. "Mr. Hale," Eleanor said, "you risked your life to expose my son. Why?" Victor was quiet for a moment. "Someone needed to." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Eleanor studied him. Then she reached into her pocket, pulled out a check, handed it to Victor. He looked at it, his expression unreadable. "That's more than what Gregory stole," he said. "Consider it payment for services rendered, and an investment in whatever you do next." Victor folded the check, slipped it into his jacket. "Thank you." Eleanor turned back to Emily. "And you, Ms. Carter, what will you do now?" Emily hadn't thought that far ahead. She'd been so focused on survival, on justice, on making it through each day. The future felt like foreign territory. "I don't know," she admitted. "The company's medical division needs new leadership, someone with integrity, someone who knows what it's like to be dismissed and overlooked, someone who won't tolerate corruption." Eleanor's eyes were sharp. "I'm offering you the position, Director of Medical Operations, full authority to rebuild the department however you see fit." Emily stared at her. "I'm a nurse, not an executive. You're someone who saved my life, who stood up when everyone else looked away. That's more valuable than any degree." Eleanor extended her hand. "What do you say?" Emily looked at the hand, looked at Eleanor, looked at Victor, who gave her the smallest nod. She shook Eleanor's hand. "I'll think about it," Emily said. Eleanor smiled. "That's all I ask." They left the estate together. Emily drove, Victor beside her, neither of them speaking for a long time. Finally, Victor broke the silence. "You going to take it?" "I don't know." "Are you going to keep running the clinic?" "I don't know." They looked at each other and both almost smiled. Emily's phone buzzed. New message. Unknown number. She opened it. The message had no words, just a photo. It showed Emily standing outside the Hawthorne estate 5 minutes ago, talking to Eleanor. The angle was from across the street, zoomed in, professional. And below the photo, a single line of text. "We're not finished." Emily's blood went cold. She showed Victor the screen. His face went hard. "Gregory?" "He's watching us. He's threatening us." Emily stared at the photo, at her own face, unaware she was being watched. Vulnerable. Then her phone buzzed again. Another message. Another photo. This one showed Margaret walking into the hospital entrance. And another. Eleanor standing alone in her sitting room. And one more. Victor leaning against the car, his wounded shoulder visible. The final message came through. "You took everything from me. Now I take everything from you. One by one. Starting tomorrow." Emily's finger hovered over the call button, then stopped. Calling the FBI would take too long. By the time agents mobilized, Gregory could have already moved on Margaret or Eleanor. Victor was already dialing, his face grim. "Who are you calling?" Emily asked. "Someone who owes me." The line connected. Victor didn't wait for a greeting. "It's Hale. I need a trace on a phone number. Active surveillance. And I need it 5 minutes ago." A pause. Victor rattled off the number from the threatening messages, then hung up. "How long?" Emily asked. 10 minutes. Maybe less." "We don't have 10 minutes?" Emily pulled up Margaret's number, called. It rang 4 times before Margaret answered, her voice groggy. "Emily? What's wrong?" "Where are you right now?" "The hospital. They're discharging me in an hour." "Why?" "Stay there. Don't leave your room. Don't open the door for anyone except hospital staff you recognize. And call security. Tell them you need protection." "Emily, you're scaring me." "Good. Be scared. Gregory's still out there, and he's coming after everyone who helped bring him down. That includes you." Margaret's breath caught. "I'll call security now." "Do it, and call me back when they're with you." Emily hung up, immediately dialed Eleanor. The older woman answered on the second ring. "Miss Carter? Are you alone?" "Yes. The staff doesn't return until tomorrow." "Lock every door, set the alarm. Don't let anyone in. Gregory's threatening retaliation." Eleanor was silent for a beat. Then, "Let him come. I'm not hiding in my own home." "Eleanor? I've already called my attorney. He's arranging private security. They'll be here within the hour. I'll be fine." "An hour's too long." "Then you better hurry." The line went dead. Victor's phone buzzed. He checked it, his jaw tightening. "Got a location." The messages are bouncing through proxies, but the source signal originated from a private airfield 40 minutes west. Same one Gregory used to leave the country. He came back? Or he never left? Could have filed a false flight plan, landed somewhere domestic, waited. Emily started the car, pulled out fast. Which airfield? Riverside Executive. Small operation. Caters to private jets. Minimal security. They drove in silence, Emily pushing the car hard through sparse traffic. Her mind was running scenarios, calculating risks. Gregory had resources, money, connections, people willing to do his dirty work. But he was also desperate. Desperate people made mistakes. Victor checked his weapon, winced as the movement pulled at his shoulder. The bleeding had stopped, but he was running on borrowed time. You should have stayed behind, Emily said. So should you. Fair point. The airfield appeared on the horizon, a single runway, a cluster of hangars, a small control tower. Emily parked outside the fence line, killed the lights. They approached on foot, staying low. The main gate was unmanned. Budget operation, minimal staff after hours. They slipped through, moved between hangars. Most were dark, empty. But one at the far end showed light spilling from beneath a closed door. Victor pointed. Emily nodded. They approached from opposite sides. Emily reached the door first, pressed her ear against it. Voices inside. 2 men, maybe 3. No way to tell if Gregory was among them. Victor positioned himself on the other side, raised 3 fingers, counted down silently. 3, 2, 1. Emily kicked the door open, swept in with her weapon raised. The hangar was empty except for a single jet and 2 men in suits. They spun toward her, hands moving toward concealed weapons. Victor came through behind her, his gun already aimed. Don't, he said. Both men froze. Emily scanned the space. No Gregory, just hired muscle in an expensive plane. Where is he? She demanded. The nearest man, mid-30s, crew cut, probably ex-military, said nothing. Victor shot the floor near his feet. The crack of the gunshot echoed through the hangar. She asked you a question. The man flinched. He left an hour ago. Different plane, flew south. Where south? Didn't say. We were supposed to wait here, make sure no one followed. Emily stepped closer. The messages. The photos. Who took them? Contractors. He hired a team, gave them your locations, told them to send proof. Where are they now? I don't know. He pays us to wait, not to ask questions. Victor moved to the jet, checked inside. Empty. He came back, looked at Emily. They're telling the truth. Emily wanted to hit something. They were chasing ghosts while Gregory moved his pieces into position. Her phone buzzed. Margaret's number. Security's here, Margaret said when Emily answered. 2 guards. They're staying outside my room. Good. Don't leave until I tell you it's safe. Emily, what's happening? I'm handling it. She hung up, called Eleanor next. No answer. She tried again. Still nothing. We need to go, Emily said to Victor. They left the 2 men zip-tied to a support beam, took their phones, and drove straight to the Hawthorne estate. Emily pushed the car past 90, blowing through lights. Victor braced himself against the door, his face pale. The estate gates were closed when they arrived. Emily rammed through them, didn't slow down. The gates buckled, swung wide. She drove straight to the front entrance, stopped hard enough to leave tire marks. The front door was ajar. Emily's stomach dropped. She pulled her weapon, entered fast. Victor followed. The foyer was dark, silent. Emily moved through it, clearing corners. The sitting room where she'd last seen Eleanor, empty. The library, empty. The dining room, empty. Then she heard it, a sound from upstairs, muffled. Wrong. She took the stairs 2 at a time, Victor behind her. The sound came from Eleanor's bedroom. Emily approached, weapon raised, pushed the door open. Eleanor sat in a chair by the window, hands bound behind her back, mouth gagged. A man stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder, the other holding a phone. Not Gregory. Someone younger. Lean, dangerous, with the flat eyes of a professional. You're late, the man said. His voice was calm, almost bored. Emily kept her gun trained on him. Let her go. Can't do that. I have orders. From Gregory? He's paying well. Very well. Victor edged to the side, trying to get an angle. The man noticed, pressed the phone to Eleanor's temple like a weapon. Stay where you are or I make the call. The second I do, my partner puts a bullet in the nurse at the hospital. Emily's blood ran cold. You're bluffing. Try me. Eleanor's eyes were fierce, unafraid. She shook her head slightly, trying to tell Emily something. "What does Gregory want?" Emily asked, buying time. "A trade, you and Hale for the old woman and the nurse. Turn yourselves in, he lets them go." "Turn ourselves in where?" "He'll send coordinates once you agree." "And then he kills us all anyway." The man shrugged. "Probably, but at least they get a few more hours, your choice." Victor shifted his weight. Emily saw his hand move slightly, signaling. She understood. He was going to take the shot. Risky. Eleanor was too close, the angle too tight, but waiting meant Gregory controlled the board. Emily made eye contact with Eleanor. The older woman's gaze was steady, unwavering. She nodded once. Permission. Emily dove left. Victor fired. The shot took the man in the shoulder, spun him around. He dropped the phone, reached for a gun holstered at his hip. Emily fired twice from the ground. Both rounds hit center mass. The man collapsed. Eleanor kicked the fallen phone away with her bound feet. Emily scrambled over, cut the zip ties with a knife from the man's belt, removed the gag. "Are you hurt?" Emily asked. Eleanor rubbed her wrists. "No, just angry." Victor checked the man's phone. No recent calls out. He didn't make the call. Margaret's still safe. "For now," Eleanor said. "But Gregory won't stop. He'll keep sending people until we're all dead." Emily stood, her mind racing. Gregory had the advantage as long as he could hide, as long as he could send others to do his killing. They needed to force him out, make him come to them. "We need leverage," Emily said. "Something he wants more than revenge." Victor looked at her. "Like what?" "His money. The offshore accounts. He can't access them without the right passwords and security codes. The FBI froze his domestic assets, but the foreign ones are still live." "How do you know that?" "Because the files Marcus gave you included account information. I saw them. The offshore transfers were still active as of last month." Eleanor's eyes sharpened. "If we threaten to expose those accounts to hand them over to international authorities, Gregory loses his escape fund. He'd be broke." "And desperate," Victor added. "Desperate enough to come after us personally." "That's the point," Emily said. "We make him come to us. On our terms. Somewhere we control." "And then what?" Eleanor asked. "Then we end this." Emily called Agent Devine. The FBI agent answered immediately. "We need to set a trap," Emily said without preamble. "And we need federal support." "What kind of trap?" Emily outlined the plan. Bait Gregory with his offshore accounts. Leak information that they're being transferred to federal custody. Make him think he has one shot to recover them before they're gone forever. "That's risky," Devine said. "If he smells the setup, he'll disappear completely." "He won't. He's too angry, too desperate. He'll come." Devine was quiet for a moment, then, "Where do you want to do this?" "The old Hawthorne Industries warehouse, South District. It's been abandoned for 3 years. Big open, lots of exits, easy to secure. I can have a tactical team there in 2 hours. No visible presence. If Gregory sees federal agents, he'll bolt. Your people stay hidden until I give the signal. You're putting yourself in the kill zone." "I've been there before," Devine sighed. 2 hours. "Don't get killed before then." Emily hung up. Eleanor was watching her with something that might have been respect. "You're either very brave or very foolish," Eleanor said. "Probably both." They moved fast. Victor contacted his network, spread the word through encrypted channels that the offshore accounts were being seized at midnight, that anyone with access codes needed to act before then. The information would reach Gregory within the hour. These networks moved fast. Eleanor returned to the estate to wait with her private security. Margaret stayed at the hospital under guard. Emily and Victor drove to the warehouse, arrived as the sun was setting. The building was massive, 3 stories of rusted metal and broken windows, a relic from when Hawthorne Industries manufactured automotive parts. Now it was just a shell, stripped of equipment, filled with shadows. Victor checked the perimeter while Emily set up inside. She chose the main floor near the center, where sight lines were clear in all directions. She placed her phone on an overturned crate, set it to record. Evidence, if they survived long enough to use it. Victor returned, his face drawn. FBI's in position. Snipers on the roof across the street. Ground team in the building next door. They can breach in 30 seconds once you give the word. Good. You sure about this? Emily checked her weapon, chambered around. No, but we're doing it anyway. They waited. The warehouse settled into silence. Outside, the city hummed with distant traffic, sirens, life continuing while they sat in the dark preparing for violence. Emily's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. "You're predictable," Gregory's voice said. Smooth, controlled, the same tone he'd used at family dinners. "I knew you'd try something like this." "Then you know it's over. The FBI has everything. The accounts, the evidence, the witnesses. You're finished." "Maybe, but I'm taking you with me." "Come try." "I'm already here." The line went dead. Emily spun, scanning the darkness. Victor moved beside her, back to back, covering opposite angles. A sound, metal scraping concrete, came from the second floor, then another from the far corner. They weren't alone. Footsteps echoed, deliberate, multiple sources. Gregory hadn't come alone. He'd brought his own team. A voice called out from above. "Throw down your weapons. Come out where we can see you. Maybe this ends without more bodies." Emily didn't answer. She was counting footsteps, tracking positions. At least 4 hostiles, maybe more. Victor whispered, "Signal the FBI." "Not yet. Gregory's not showing himself. We signal now. He runs. We wait. We die." "Then we don't wait long." A spotlight blazed to life from the second floor, blinding them. Emily dove behind a concrete pillar. Victor went the opposite direction. Gunfire erupted. Controlled bursts, professional. Emily returned fire, aiming at the spotlight. It shattered. Darkness rushed back in. She moved, changed positions, fired again. Someone grunted in pain, one down. Victor engaged targets on the east side, his shots precise despite his injury. Another hostile fell, but more were coming. Emily heard them, boots on metal stairs, coordinated movement. They were being surrounded. She pulled out her phone, hit the panic button that would signal Divine. Nothing happened. She checked the screen. No signal. They were jamming communications. "Victor," she called out. "I know. Mine's dead too." They were cut off. The FBI team outside had no idea the trap had sprung early. Emily's tactical mind shifted gears. New plan. Survive long enough to get a signal out, or force Gregory to show himself. She fired toward the second floor, aiming for movement. "Gregory, you want me? I'm right here. Come down and finish this yourself, or are you still hiding behind hired guns?" Silence. Then laughter, cold and bitter. Gregory stepped into view on the second floor catwalk, backlit by emergency lighting. He wasn't alone. 2 men flanked him, both armed. "You really think taunting me works?" Gregory called down. "I'm not some amateur. Could have fooled me. You ran, left your mother to clean up your mess. That's pretty amateur." Gregory's face twisted. "My mother betrayed me, chose a company over her own son. She chose what was right. She chose you, a nurse, someone who meant nothing." Emily stepped out from behind the pillar, weapon raised. "I meant nothing. Then why are you here?" Gregory pulled a gun, aimed it at her. "Because you destroyed everything I built. You destroyed it yourself. I just made sure everyone saw." The 2 men beside Gregory started descending the stairs, moving to flank Emily's position. Victor fired, dropped one. The other returned fire, forcing Victor back into cover. Emily kept her weapon trained on Gregory. "It's over. The FBI's outside. You can't win this. Then I'll settle for watching you die." He fired. Emily moved, but not fast enough. The round grazed her side, burning pain that made her stumble. She fired back, hit Gregory in the leg. He went down hard on the catwalk, screaming. The remaining gunman charged Emily. She pivoted, fired, missed. He was too close. He slammed into her, drove her into the ground. Her weapon skittered away. He pinned her, raised his gun. Victor shot him twice from across the warehouse. The man collapsed on top of Emily. She shoved the body off, gasping. Blood, some hers, some the dead man's, soaked her shirt. She grabbed her weapon, stood on shaking legs. Gregory was crawling on the catwalk, trying to reach the stairs. Emily climbed after him, each step sending pain through her side. She reached him, kicked his gun away, pressed her boot against his wounded leg. He screamed. "How does it feel?" she asked. "Being the one on the ground, being the one who doesn't matter." Gregory looked up at her, his face pale and twisted with pain and hate. "You're nothing, just a nurse, just staff." Yeah, I am, and I beat you anyway. She pulled out the broken phone, held it up. Smile for the camera. Evidence. Then the warehouse doors burst open. FBI agents flooded in, tactical gear, weapons raised, voices shouting commands. Emily stepped back, raised her hands. Victor did the same. Agent Devine approached, took in the scene, the bodies, the blood, Gregory on the ground bleeding. You couldn't wait for backup? He jammed our signals, Emily said. Devine knelt beside Gregory, cuffed him. Gregory Hawthorne, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, and about 15 other charges I'll read you on the way to the hospital. Gregory said nothing. His eyes found Emily's, filled with venom. She stared back, unflinching. Paramedics arrived. One approached Emily, saw the blood. You're hit. Just a graze. Let me check anyway. Emily let them work, barely feeling it. The adrenaline was fading, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Victor was getting treatment too, fresh bandages on his shoulder. Devine walked over once the paramedics cleared out. We found evidence on site. Recordings, messages, enough to put Gregory away for life. Plus testimony from the men he hired. They're flipping already. Good, Emily said. You did good work. Reckless, dangerous, completely against protocol, but good. Emily managed a tired smile. That's the nicest thing an FBI agent's ever said to me. Devine almost smiled back. Then her expression turned serious. There's something else. We traced Gregory's offshore accounts, found transfers going back 8 years. Dummy corporations, shell companies, bribes to city officials, judges, police officers. It's bigger than we thought. How big? Big enough that this investigation's going to take down half the city government. People who helped him. People who looked the other way. It's going to be a bloodbath. Emily thought about all the people who dismissed her, who treated her like she was invisible. Some of them were probably on that list. Good, she said again. The paramedics wanted to take Emily to the hospital. She refused. She needed to see Eleanor first, make sure she was safe. Victor came with her despite the medics' protests. They drove to the estate as dawn broke over the city. The gates were repaired, security posted. Emily identified herself and they were waved through. Eleanor met them at the door. She looked Emily up and down, taking in the blood and bandages. You look terrible, Eleanor said. Thanks, but you're alive. That's what matters. They went inside. Margaret was there too, released from the hospital, a bandage visible under her gray hair. She hugged Emily hard enough to make the wound in her side throb. I heard what you did, Margaret said. You're insane. I've been told. They sat in Eleanor's sitting room, the same room where men had tried to kill her days before. But now it felt different, safer, reclaimed. Eleanor poured coffee, handed cups to Emily and Victor. The board called. They want to make the appointment official. You as director of medical operations, starting whenever you're ready. Emily wrapped her hands around the warm cup. I'm not sure I'm the right person. You're exactly the right person. You understand what it's like to be underestimated. You won't tolerate corruption. And you have a spine made of steel. Eleanor's eyes were sharp. The company needs someone like you. Emily looked at Victor. He shrugged. It's your call. She thought about it. About starting over. About taking a position where she'd never be invisible again. Where she could make changes that mattered. I'll do it, she said. On one condition. What's that? You fund a legitimate clinic, properly licensed, staffed, equipped, for people who fall through the cracks. The ones who can't afford hospitals. The ones no one else helps. Eleanor considered this. That's a significant investment. It's the right thing to do. Eleanor smiled. Done. You'll run it? Victor will. Victor looked startled. What? You built something from nothing. You helped people who had nowhere else to go. Now you can do it the right way. Legal, safe, supported. Victor opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. He looked at Eleanor. I'm not exactly qualified to run a medical facility. Neither was I when I took over the company, Eleanor said. But I learned. So will you. The sun climbed higher outside the windows. The city woke up. Somewhere, Gregory Hawthorne was being processed into federal custody, his empire in ruins, his future measured in decades behind bars. Emily's phone buzzed. She checked it. A news alert. Hawthorne Industries CEO arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. FBI raids reveal widespread corruption. Below it another, mayor's office under investigation. 3 city council members resign amid scandal. And another, former nurse credited with exposing corruption saves lives in dramatic warehouse standoff. Her name was in the article. Her face, the story the media loved, underdog rising, powerful falling, justice served. Emily turned off the phone. "You're famous," Margaret said. "I'm tired." Eleanor stood. "Then get some rest. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but it can wait a few days." Emily stood too, felt the pain in her side, the exhaustion pulling at her. Victor got up beside her, moving slow but steady. They left together, walked out into morning light. At the car, Victor paused. "You really want me to run a clinic? You're good at it, and this time, no one's shooting at you." "You sure about that?" Emily smiled despite everything. "Pretty sure." They drove back toward the safe house to collect their things. The radio played news reports about the arrests, the investigation expanding, corruption being exposed layer by layer. Emily's phone buzzed again. She almost ignored it, then saw the sender, Agent Devine. She answered. "We have a problem," Devine said, her voice tight. Emily's stomach dropped. "What kind?" "Gregory made bail." Emily's hands went cold. "How?" "He's facing federal charges. His lawyers argued he wasn't a flight risk because his passport's been seized and his assets are frozen. Judge agreed. Set bail at $50 million. Where did he get $50 million? We're still figuring that out, but he posted it an hour ago. He's out." Emily pulled over, her heart hammering. "Where is he now?" "Unknown. He left the courthouse with his legal team and disappeared. We've got alerts out, but..." Devine's voice cut off. Silence. "Agent Devine?" Nothing. Then a new voice came on the line. Smooth, familiar. "Gregory." "Hello, Emily." She couldn't breathe. "You thought you won," Gregory continued. "You thought it was over. But here's the thing about people like me. We have resources you can't imagine, connections, favors owed, and patience. Where are you?" "Close, very close." A sound behind Emily. She spun. Gregory stood 10 feet away, a gun in his hand pointed directly at her. Victor was out of the car before Emily could process what was happening. He dove at Gregory from the side, hitting him low and hard. The gun went off, a crack that split the morning air, but the bullet went wide, punched through the car window behind Emily's head. Gregory and Victor crashed to the pavement. Emily scrambled out, her weapon already drawn, but they were tangled together, rolling. She couldn't get a clean shot. Gregory brought his gun around, pressed it against Victor's ribs. Victor grabbed his wrist, forced it away. Another shot, deafening, and Victor jerked. Blood bloomed across his shirt. Emily fired. The round hit Gregory's shoulder, spun him off Victor. He stumbled back, still holding the gun, his face twisted with pain and rage. "Drop it!" Emily shouted. Gregory aimed at her instead. His hand was shaking, but his eyes were steady, cold. "You ruined my life," he said. "You did that yourself. I gave you a chance to disappear, to walk away. You should have taken it." Emily kept her weapon trained on his center mass, 20 feet between them, close enough she wouldn't miss. "Put the gun down, Gregory. It's over." "It's not over until you're dead." His finger tightened on the trigger. A shot rang out, but not from Gregory's gun. He looked down at his chest, confused. Blood spread across his white shirt, a dark red stain expanding like spilled wine. His gun clattered to the ground. He fell to his knees. Emily spun. Agent Devine stood 30 yards away, her service weapon raised, smoke curling from the barrel. Behind her, 3 federal vehicles screeched to a stop, agents piling out. Gregory collapsed forward onto the pavement, gasping. Paramedics rushed in immediately, working fast. Emily didn't watch. She dropped beside Victor. He was conscious, breathing shallow, holding his side where blood seeped through his fingers. "I'm okay," he managed. "You're shot." "I've noticed." Emily pressed her hands over the wound, applying pressure. The bullet had gone in below his ribs, right side. Liver maybe, or kidney. Bad either way. "Stay with me," she said. Victor's eyes found hers. "I'm not going anywhere." The paramedics took over, got Victor onto a stretcher. Emily climbed into the ambulance with him. Devine appeared at the door. "I'll meet you at the hospital," she said. We need your statement. Later. Devine nodded. He's not going to make it, Emily. Gregory. He's lost too much blood. Emily didn't respond. She didn't care anymore. The ambulance doors closed and they were moving, sirens wailing. Victor's eyes were closed, but he was breathing. The paramedic worked efficiently, inserting an IV, monitoring vitals. Is he going to make it? Emily asked. If we get there fast enough. They did. The hospital trauma team was waiting. They took Victor straight into surgery. Emily was left in the waiting room alone, covered in blood that wasn't hers. A nurse approached. You should get checked out. You're injured. Emily looked down. The graze from the warehouse was bleeding again, soaking through the bandage. I'm fine. You're not. Come with me. Too tired to argue, Emily followed. They cleaned the wound, restitched it properly this time, gave her antibiotics and pain medication she didn't take. When they finished, she went back to the waiting room. Margaret was there. So was Eleanor. How did you know? Emily asked. Agent Devine called, Eleanor said. Is Victor? Surgery. No word yet. They sat together in silence. Hours passed. Emily watched the clock, watched the doors, waited. Her mind kept replaying the moment Gregory appeared, the gun in his hand, the certainty in his eyes that he would kill her. She'd survived wars, survived violence, but something about seeing him standing there, a man who'd had everything and thrown it away out of greed, shook her more than she wanted to admit. Margaret brought coffee. Emily held the cup but didn't drink. Her hands were steady now, the adrenaline finally wearing off, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Finally, a surgeon emerged, still in scrubs, pulling off a surgical cap. Emily stood. He's stable, the surgeon said. Bullet nicked the liver, but we got it repaired. Lost a lot of blood, needed transfusions, but he'll live. He'll need recovery time, probably 6 weeks minimum before he's back to anything close to normal activity. Emily's knees almost buckled. Margaret caught her arm. Can I see him? Emily asked. He's in recovery. Another hour or so. We'll come get you. The surgeon left. Emily sat back down, felt the tension drain out of her all at once. She put her head in her hands. Eleanor's hand touched her shoulder, warm and solid. You saved his life, Eleanor said quietly. Again. He saved mine first. Then you're even. Emily lifted her head. Is anyone ever really even? When it comes to this? Eleanor considered the question. No, I don't think so. I think we just keep saving each other and hope it's enough. Agent Devine arrived 20 minutes later. She looked exhausted, her jacket wrinkled, her hair coming loose from its tie. She sat down heavily in the chair across from Emily. Gregory Hawthorne died in surgery, she said without preamble. Cardiac arrest. They worked on him for 40 minutes but couldn't bring him back. Emily felt nothing. No relief, no satisfaction, just a hollow kind of emptiness, like a room after everyone's left. We're closing the case, Devine continued. Federal charges will be filed posthumously for the record, but it's over. The investigation into city corruption is ongoing. We've already made 12 arrests, more coming, 3 judges, 5 city council members, 2 police captains. It goes deeper than we thought. What about the judge who granted bail? Emily asked. Under investigation. We found a wire transfer to his daughter's account the day before he set bail. $500,000 from one of Gregory's shell companies. He's already lawyered up. Good. Devine pulled out a tablet, set it on the table between them. There's something else you need to see. We've been going through Gregory's communications, found encrypted messages between him and Vanessa dating back 3 years. They were planning this together from the start. The embezzlement, the offshore accounts, everything. When things started falling apart, she was the one who suggested eliminating witnesses. Emily stared at the tablet. She ordered the hits? She suggested them. Gregory carried them out, but yeah, she's just as responsible. Devine scrolled through messages, showed Emily. Cold, calculated discussions of who knew too much, who needed to be silenced. Marcus Lang's name appeared multiple times. She knew he was sick, Emily said, reading. They waited for him to die naturally, so they wouldn't have to risk killing him. And when his daughter started asking questions, Vanessa suggested the apartment fire to destroy evidence. Devine's voice was flat, professional, but Emily could hear the anger underneath. We're bringing charges against her tomorrow. Conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, fraud, money laundering. She's looking at life without parole. Eleanor had been listening silently. Now she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I brought her into this family. I welcomed her, trusted her. You couldn't have known, Emily said. Couldn't I? I saw the way she treated staff, the way she looked at people she considered beneath her. I saw it and I said nothing because it was easier not to. Eleanor's hands were shaking. I'm complicit. You're not, Devine said firmly. You exposed them when you found out. You chose justice over family loyalty. That took courage. It took too long. No one argued with that. The nurse came to tell Emily that Victor was awake. She stood, looked at Eleanor and Margaret. Stay, Eleanor said. We'll wait here. Victor's room was small, sterile, filled with the beep of monitors. He looked pale against white sheets, tubes running from his arms, oxygen cannula in his nose. But his eyes were clear when Emily walked in. Hey, he said, his voice rough. Hey yourself. She sat in the chair beside his bed. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Gregory? Victor finally asked. Dead. Victor nodded, slowly processing. How do you feel about that? I don't know yet. Ask me in a year. Fair. Emily looked at her hands, still stained with his blood, despite washing them 3 times. You didn't have to tackle him. He was going to shoot me either way. Maybe, but I couldn't just watch it happen. You almost died. So did you. Multiple times this week. Victor shifted, winced at the pain. We make a terrible team. Emily almost smiled. The worst. We both keep getting shot. We should probably stop doing that. Probably. The monitors beeped steadily. Outside the window, the city sprawled under afternoon light, normal people doing normal things, unaware of everything that had happened in the shadows. Eleanor offered me the job, Emily said. Director of Medical Operations. Official this time, with a press conference and everything. You taking it? I think so. But I meant what I said about the clinic. You run it. I make sure Hawthorne Industries funds it properly. Legal, clean, everything you built, but without the risk of getting raided or arrested. Victor was quiet for a while, his eyes distant. I've been running underground operations for 5 years. I'm not sure I know how to do it any other way. So learn. You're smart enough. And if I say no, then I'll find someone else. But they won't care the way you do. They won't understand the people who come through those doors. You do. That matters. Victor looked at her, really looked at her. You know I'm wanted in 3 states for things that have nothing to do with Gregory Hawthorne, right? Identity fraud, practicing medicine without proper credentials, about 15 other charges. I know. And you're still offering this. Everyone deserves a second chance. You gave me one when I was blacklisted and had nowhere else to go. I'm returning the favor. Victor's eyes softened. You're either very brave or very stupid. Can't I be both? He laughed, then immediately regretted it, holding his side. Don't make me laugh. Hurts like hell. A nurse came in to check Victor's vitals, adjusted his IV, told Emily visiting hours were almost over. Emily promised to leave soon. When they were alone again, Victor said, There's something else. The FBI found a second set of offshore accounts, different from the ones we already knew about. $20 million transferred 3 hours before Gregory died. Vanessa's name is on the authorization. Emily's stomach dropped. She moved money while all this was happening? Insurance policy, probably. In case Gregory didn't make it, she'd still have access to funds. Smart, in a cold-blooded kind of way. Can they seize it? They're working on it, but offshore banking laws are complicated. Could take months, maybe years. Victor paused. There's more. The account shows regular transfers going back 18 months, always the same amount, $50,000 every month, always to the same recipient. Who? We don't know yet. The recipient account is even more buried than the source. But someone was getting paid, regularly, for something. Emily felt ice in her veins. You think there's someone else involved? I think Vanessa and Gregory weren't working alone. I think they had help. Someone inside the company, or the government, or both. Someone who's still out there. Emily stood, walked to the window. The sun was setting, painting the city in orange and gold, beautiful and indifferent. Let them come, she said quietly. We'll be ready. Victor studied her. You've changed. Had to. I'm not sure it's a good change. You sound hard. I sound like someone who's tired of being a victim. There's a difference between not being a victim and becoming what you fought against. Emily turned to face him. I'm not becoming them. I'm just done being afraid, done letting people like Gregory and Vanessa decide what I'm worth. Victor nodded slowly. Just don't lose yourself in the process. That's all I'm saying. I won't. Promise? Emily met his eyes. I promise. The nurse came back, insisted Emily leave so Victor could rest. Emily stood, squeezed Victor's hand once. Get better, she said. We have work to do. Always do. Emily left the hospital as night fell. She drove back to her apartment, showered for the first time in what felt like forever, watched blood and grime circle the drain. When she emerged, her phone was ringing. Eleanor. Turn on the news, Eleanor said without preamble. Emily grabbed the remote, flipped to a news channel. Her own face filled the screen. A photo from her nursing license, years old, taken before everything went wrong. The headline beneath it read, Nurse who exposed Hawthorne corruption becomes face of justice movement. The scene changed. A press conference. Eleanor stood at a podium, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. Emily Carter is a hero, Eleanor was saying, her voice clear and strong. She risked everything to expose corruption that reached the highest levels of our city and state government. She saved lives, including mine and countless others. And I'm proud to announce that she will be joining Hawthorne Industries as our new Director of Medical Operations, effective after a short transition period. The reporters erupted with questions. Eleanor raised a hand for silence. Furthermore, Hawthorne Industries will be establishing the Marcus Lang Medical Initiative, a fully funded, legally operated clinic providing free health care to underserved communities. It will be run by Victor Hale, another individual who risked his life to bring the truth to light. We're committing $50 million over the next 5 years to this project, with expansion plans already in development. More questions. Eleanor fielded them with practiced ease, deflecting the personal ones, focusing on the future, on change, on making amends. The feed cut back to the studio, where analysts were already discussing what this meant for the company, for the city, for the dozens of other corporations that might be hiding similar corruption. Emily's phone rang again. Eleanor. You could have warned me, Emily said when she answered. You would have said no. Definitely would have said no. The city needs to know what you did, what you sacrificed, and Hawthorne Industries needs to show we're committed to real change, not just words. This accomplishes both. Emily sat down on her couch, still wrapped in a towel, hair dripping onto the cushions. I don't want to be famous. I don't want attention. Too late. But you can use it. Use the platform to make changes that actually matter. That's what I'm doing. That's what you taught me to do. I didn't teach you anything. You taught me that integrity isn't about where you start. It's about what you do when everything's on the line. Eleanor's voice softened. I'm 73 years old. I've spent my entire adult life building and protecting the Hawthorne name, and in 1 week you showed me I was protecting the wrong things. Emily didn't know what to say to that. Get some rest, Eleanor continued. Tomorrow we start rebuilding, together. She hung up. Emily's phone started buzzing nonstop. Texts, calls, emails flooding in. Messages from nurses she'd worked with years ago, from people she didn't know, thanking her, from reporters wanting interviews, from lawyers offering representation for a lawsuit against the city. She turned it off. The next morning, Emily went to the hospital early. Victor was sitting up eating terrible hospital eggs, watching the same news coverage on his room's TV. His color was better, the oxygen cannula gone. We're famous, he said when Emily walked in. I hate it. Me too. They're calling us heroes. I've never been called a hero before. Usually it's criminal or that guy the cops are looking for. Emily pulled up a chair. Eleanor made the announcement without asking us. I noticed. $50 million. That's a lot of pressure. You don't have to do this. The clinic. If you don't want the responsibility, I want to. Victor set down his fork, his expression serious. I've spent 5 years hiding, running underground operations, looking over my shoulder every second. Maybe it's time to try something different, something legitimate, something that doesn't end with me getting shot. It won't be easy. Legal clinics have regulations, oversight, bureaucracy. Nothing worth doing is easy. You taught me that too. Emily smiled despite herself. I'm teaching everyone lessons, apparently. You are, whether you want to or not. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Victor picked at his eggs. Emily watched the news coverage with the sound off, seeing her own face flash across the screen again and again. What about you? Victor finally asked. You really going to take the corporate job? Become an executive? Wear suits and go to board meetings? I think I have to. Not for me. For everyone who comes after me. Every nurse who gets dismissed, overlooked, treated like they're invisible. If I'm in that position, I can make sure it doesn't happen to them. I can change policy, change culture, change everything. That's a lot of responsibility. I've carried worse. Victor nodded. You have. But just don't lose sight of why you're doing it. The corporate world changes people. I've seen it happen. I won't let it change me. Everyone says that. I'm not everyone. Victor smiled. No, you're really not. The door opened. Agent Devine walked in, carrying a tablet and a file folder. Her expression was grim. We have a situation, she said without preamble. Emily's stomach sank. What now? Devine set the tablet on Victor's table, pulled up a bank statement. Remember that $20 million from Gregory's offshore account? The money Vanessa transferred right before he died. Yeah, it moved again, 6 hours ago. Transferred to another account, then split into smaller amounts and distributed to 15 different locations. By the time we traced it, most had already been withdrawn as cash. Withdrawn where? Victor asked. All over. New York, Miami, Los Angeles, Houston. Someone's liquidating the funds fast before we can freeze them. Who authorized the transfers? Emily asked. That's the problem. We don't know. Whoever did it used authorization codes that we haven't seen before, not Gregory's, not Vanessa's. Someone else has access to these accounts. Emily felt cold creeping up her spine. You think Gregory and Vanessa had a partner, someone who's still operating? I think they had multiple partners. And I think at least one of them is inside law enforcement or the financial sector, because they're moving money faster than we can track it. They know our procedures. They're always one step ahead. Victor exchanged a look with Emily. So, what do we do? For now, stay alert, stay safe. Don't trust anyone you don't absolutely have to. Devine closed the tablet. I'm assigning protection to both of you, plainclothes officers rotating shifts. They'll be subtle, but they'll be there. For how long? Emily asked. Until we find whoever's behind this. Could be days. Could be months. Devine stood. I'm sorry. I know you both just want this to be over. It's never over, is it? Emily said quietly. Not until we catch everyone involved. But we will. I promise you that. Devine left. Emily and Victor sat in silence, processing. Finally, Victor said, You sure you still want that corporate job? Might be safer to disappear for a while. Emily stood, walked to the window. The city stretched below, indifferent to their problems. I'm done disappearing, done hiding. If someone's coming after me, let them come. I'll be ready. That's either very brave or very stupid. Why does everyone keep saying that? Because it's true. Emily turned back to him. You do the same thing. I definitely would. That's how I know it's stupid. Despite everything, Emily laughed. It felt good, normal. A nurse came in, told Emily visiting hours were over again. She promised to return later. As she walked to her car, Emily noticed the plainclothes officer Devine had mentioned. A woman in her 40s sitting in a sedan 2 spaces away, pretending to read a newspaper. Their eyes met briefly. The woman nodded. Emily got in her car, drove toward the Hawthorne Industries building. She had a meeting with Eleanor and the board in 2 hours. Transition planning. Setting up her new role. Discussing the Marcus Lang initiative. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. She almost deleted it. Then she opened it. This is Jenna Lang, Marcus's daughter. Agent Devine gave me your number. I heard what you did, what my father tried to do before he died. Thank you for finishing it. He'd be so proud. Emily stared at the message. She'd never met Marcus Lang, never seen his face. But he'd started this, handed Victor the evidence that ultimately brought down an empire. And now his daughter knew the truth had come out. She typed back, Your father was brave. He started something that mattered. I just helped finish it. The response came quickly. He always said one person could make a difference if they were willing to pay the price. You proved him right. Emily pocketed the phone. She sat in her car for a moment, thinking about Marcus Lang dying of cancer, knowing he'd never see justice served, but trying anyway. About Victor building an illegal clinic because the legal system had failed people. About Eleanor choosing truth over family. About herself, a blacklisted nurse who'd refused to stay invisible. The meeting with the board went longer than expected. 3 hours of questions, presentations, budget discussions. Emily sat at a mahogany table in a glass-walled conference room, surrounded by executives in expensive suits. A year ago, she wouldn't have been allowed in this room. Now she was being offered a position of power within it. The chairman, a man in his 60s named Robert Chen, studied her across the table. You understand this position comes with significant scrutiny. The media attention, the investigations, the ongoing legal proceedings, your every move will be watched. I understand, Emily said. And you're prepared for that? I've been through worse. The warehouse shootout, the attempts on your life? All of it. Robert leaned back. Ms. Carter, I'll be honest. Some members of this board have reservations. You're young, you're inexperienced in corporate leadership, and you come with considerable, baggage. Emily kept her face neutral. Then why am I here? Because Eleanor Hawthorne insisted, and because despite my reservations, I think you might be exactly what this company needs. Someone who isn't afraid to burn the old system down if it's rotten. He glanced at the other board members. We've been complicit, all of us. We saw the numbers, saw the irregularities, and we looked the other way because the profits kept coming. That ends now. Eleanor spoke up from her position at the head of the table. Emily isn't here to make us comfortable. She's here to make us better. The vote is yours, but I'm making my position clear. She gets the job or I resign. Your choice. The board members exchanged looks. Robert sighed. All in favor of appointing Emily Carter as Director of Medical Operations? Every hand went up. Opposed? Silence. Robert looked at Emily. Congratulations, Ms. Carter. You start in 2 weeks. Use that time to prepare. You're going to need it. The meeting adjourned. As the executives filed out, Eleanor pulled Emily aside. That was easier than I expected, Emily said, because they're terrified. Federal investigators are combing through every department. Half the company's leadership could be implicated in the fraud. They want someone clean, someone the public trusts. That's you. I'm not clean. I worked at an illegal clinic. I killed people. In self-defense. And you exposed corruption that went to the highest levels of city government. In the court of public opinion, you're a hero. Use it. Emily wanted to argue, but Eleanor was already walking away, leaving her alone in the empty conference room. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur. Emily moved into her new office, spacious, with a view of the city skyline. She hired an assistant, started reviewing department files, identified problems that needed fixing. The medical division was a mess. Overstaffed in some areas, understaffed in others. Equipment outdated, procedures inefficient. She started making changes immediately. Fired 3 executives who'd been part of Gregory's inner circle. Promoted nurses and techs who'd been overlooked for years. Implemented new oversight systems to prevent fraud. Some people loved her for it. Others hated her. She didn't care either way. Victor was released from the hospital after 10 days. Emily visited him at the safe house where he was staying, a small apartment the FBI had set up, complete with security and monitoring. He looked better, still moving slowly, still in pain, but upright and functional. Physical therapy starts next week, he told her. Doctor says 6 to 8 weeks before I'm fully recovered. Take the full 8. Don't rush it. Says the woman who went back to work 3 days after getting shot. Do as I say, not as I do. They sat on his couch, drinking coffee that Victor had somehow managed to make despite doctor's orders to rest. The clinic space is ready, Victor said. Eleanor's people found a building in the South District, former urgent care facility, already zoned for medical use, already equipped. We just need to staff it and open the doors. How's the hiring going? Slow. Turns out most medical professionals are hesitant to work at a place run by someone with my criminal record. We'll find people. The ones who care more about the mission than the optics. Like you? Like me. Victor set down his coffee. There's something I need to tell you. About those monthly payments from Vanessa's offshore accounts, the 50,000 that kept going to the same recipient. Emily's attention sharpened. You found out who it was? FBI did. Want to guess? Just tell me. Judge Malcolm Brenner, the one who granted Gregory bail. Emily's blood ran cold. He was on the payroll the whole time? For 18 months, 50,000 a month. In exchange, he ruled favorably on Hawthorne Industries cases, suppressed evidence in lawsuits, dismissed charges against Gregory's associates. The FBI has enough evidence to charge him with bribery, obstruction of justice, and about a dozen other counts. How many cases did he corrupt? For it, say, 47 that they've found so far. Most will need to be retried. Some defendants who were convicted will probably go free. It's going to be a legal nightmare. Emily stood, paced the small living room. How deep does this go? Deeper than anyone thought. The FBI's found evidence of payments to 2 other judges, 5 prosecutors, a dozen police officers. It's not just Gregory and Vanessa. It's an entire network of corruption they built over a decade. And someone's still operating it. Someone who has access to the money and the codes. Victor nodded grimly. FBI thinks it's either someone in the Hawthorne Industries finance department or someone at the offshore bank itself. They're investigating both. Emily's phone buzzed. A text from Eleanor. Turn on the news. Now. She grabbed the remote, turned on Victor's TV. Breaking news coverage. Federal agents leading Judge Malcolm Brenner out of his home in handcuffs. His face was red, his expensive bathrobe hanging open over pajamas. Reporters swarmed, cameras flashed. The headline read, Federal Judge Arrested in Hawthorne Corruption Scandal. Dozens of cases to be reviewed. The reporter was breathless with excitement. This is the biggest judicial corruption case in state history. Sources tell us that Judge Brenner received more than $900,000 over 18 months in exchange for favorable rulings in cases involving Hawthorne Industries and its associates. The implications are staggering. Dozens of criminal cases, civil suits, and corporate disputes may need to be retried. Emily watched in silence. Victor sat beside her, his expression unreadable. It's working, Victor finally said. The system's actually holding them accountable. For now. Until whoever's still out there decides to clean house. As if on cue, Emily's phone rang. Agent Devine. You watching the news? Devine asked. Yeah, good. Because there's something you need to know. Judge Brenner started talking the second we put him in the interrogation room. Gave us names, dates, amounts. He's trying to cut a deal. Did he give you anything useful? He gave us everything, including the name of the person who recruited him into the scheme in the first place. Emily's pulse quickened. Who? Vanessa Hawthorne's brother, Martin Cross. He's a financial consultant, works with offshore accounts and shell corporations. According to Brenner, Martin was the one who set up the entire payment system. He's the one with access to all the codes and accounts. Where is he now? Unknown. He left the country 2 days after Gregory died. Private jet to Singapore. We're working with international authorities to locate him, but Singapore doesn't have an extradition treaty with the U.S. If he stays there, we can't touch him. Emily felt anger rising. So he just gets away with it. Not if we can prove he's still operating. If he moves money, makes transfers, does anything with those accounts, we can track it. And if he sets foot in any country that does have extradition, we grab him. Devine paused. But Emily, there's something else. We found communications between Martin and an unknown contact, recent, from yesterday. What kind of communications? Encrypted messages, we're still breaking them, but from what we can read, they're discussing cleanup, loose ends. Your name came up, so did Victor's. Emily's stomach dropped. He's planning to come after us. Or he's hiring someone to do it. Either way, you need to be careful. The protection detail stays in place. Don't go anywhere alone. Don't trust anyone new. And if you see anything suspicious, anything at all, you call me immediately. Understood. Devine hung up. Emily looked at Victor. Martin Cross, she said, Vanessa's brother. He's the one running things now. Victor's jaw tightened. Then we find him before he finds us. How? He's in Singapore. We can't reach him there. No, but we can make him come to us. Emily frowned. What are you thinking? The offshore accounts. Martin needs access to them to keep the network running, to pay people off, to operate. If we threaten those accounts, if we make him think they're about to be seized, he'll have to act. And when he does, We'll be ready. That's risky. If he panics, he might just liquidate everything and disappear. Or he might come after the threat directly. Us, Emily understood. You want to use ourselves as bait. It's the only way to draw him out. The FBI can't touch him in Singapore. But if he comes here, if he makes a move on U.S. soil, they can grab him. And if he sends someone to kill us instead, then we deal with it, like we've been dealing with everything else. Emily walked to the window, looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, Martin Cross was planning his next move. And somewhere closer, people were still suffering, still falling through cracks in the system. She thought about Marcus Lang, dying of cancer, trying to make things right. About Eleanor, choosing truth over comfort. About all the invisible people she'd worked alongside over the years. Okay, she said, turning back to Victor. Let's do it. Let's draw him out. You sure? No, but I'm done waiting for other people to solve this. We finish it, together. Victor nodded slowly. Partners? Emily extended her hand. Victor shook it, his grip firm, despite the pain he must still be feeling. Partners? Emily said. They spent the next 3 days planning. Victor reached out to his contacts in the financial underworld, spread the word that Hawthorne Industries was cooperating fully with federal investigators, that all offshore accounts were being traced and seized. Emily gave interviews to major news outlets, talked about the ongoing investigation, mentioned that they were close to identifying everyone involved in the corruption network. It was a lie. But it was a believable lie. The FBI monitored all communications, watched for any response from Martin Cross or his associates. Emily went about her normal routine, working at Hawthorne Industries during the day, visiting the clinic site in the evenings. Her protection detail stayed close but discreet. On the 4th day, the trap snapped shut. Emily was leaving her office late, walking to her car in the underground parking garage. Her protection officer, a different one this time, a young man named Torres, walked beside her, alert but relaxed. The garage was mostly empty. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Their footsteps echoed on concrete. Emily's car was parked in her assigned spot, 3rd level, northwest corner. She hit the key fob. The lights flashed. Torres stopped suddenly. Wait. Emily froze. What? Your car, front left tire's flat. Emily looked. He was right. The tire was completely deflated, the car listing to one side. Could be a coincidence, Torres said, but his hand was already moving toward his concealed weapon. Or it could be... The shot came from above. Torres went down hard, a hole in his chest, blood spreading fast. Emily dropped, scrambled behind a concrete pillar. More shots, controlled bursts, coming from the 4th level. Rounds sparked off the concrete inches from her head. She pulled her weapon. She'd started carrying again after Gregory and returned fire blindly, just trying to keep the shooter pinned. Her phone was in her pocket, but she couldn't reach it without exposing herself. Torres was gasping, drowning in his own blood. Emily crawled toward him, staying low. She grabbed his jacket, dragged him behind the pillar. He tried to speak, but couldn't. His eyes were wide, terrified. Emily pressed her hands against the wound, but there was too much blood. Arterial hit. He wouldn't last 5 minutes without a hospital. Stay with me, she said, knowing it was useless. More gunfire. The shooter was moving, repositioning. Emily fired back, trying to track the movement. Her magazine was running low. She had 1 spare on her belt. After that, nothing. She pulled out her phone with bloody hands, called 911. The operator answered immediately. Shots fired, officer down, Hawthorne Industries parking garage, 3rd level. I need paramedics now. Ma'am, are you... Emily hung up, called Divine next. It's happening, Emily said when the agent answered. Martin or someone he hired. I'm pinned down in the parking garage. Torres is hit bad. I need backup. On the way. 3 minutes. Stay down. The line went dead. 3 minutes. Emily looked at Torres. He wasn't going to make 3 minutes. His breathing was shallow, bubbling. His eyes were losing focus. Torres, she said firmly, look at me. Stay awake. He couldn't. His eyes closed. Emily checked for a pulse, faint, fading. The shooter fired again, closer now. Emily abandoned Torres's body, moved to a different position. She had to stay alive if she wanted to help anyone. She heard footsteps, measured, deliberate, someone coming down the stairs from the 4th level. Emily aimed toward the sound, waited. A figure appeared. Male, mid-30s, professional gear, rifle with a scope. Not Martin, a hired operator. Emily fired first. The man dove behind a van, returned fire. They exchanged shots, neither landing a hit. Emily's magazine ran dry. She ejected it, slammed in her spare. Last one. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. The shooter heard them too. He stood, exposed himself for a split second to line up a shot at Emily. She fired 3 times. The second round caught him in the throat. He went down choking, blood spraying. Emily stayed behind cover, weapon aimed, waiting to see if he was alone. He was. FBI vehicles screeched into the garage 60 seconds later. Agents poured out, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Devine was with them. "Clear," Emily shouted. "Shooters down!" Devine reached her, took in the scene, Torres dead on the ground, the shooter bleeding out near the van, Emily covered in blood again. "You hit?" Devine asked. "No, Torres didn't make it." Devine's face went hard. She radioed for paramedics, for crime scene techs, for a dozen other things Emily didn't process. An agent checked the shooter. "He's alive. Barely." "Get him to a hospital," Devine ordered. "I want him interrogated the second he can talk." They loaded the shooter into an ambulance. Emily sat on the hood of a squad car, hands shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. An EMT tried to check her over. She waved him away. "I'm not hurt." "You're covered in blood. It's not mine." Devine came back over, phone in hand. "The shooter's phone was encrypted, but our tech guys cracked it in the ambulance. Found a message from an hour ago. Instructions to eliminate you and make it look like a robbery gone wrong. The sender's number traces back to Singapore." "Martin Cross." "Almost certainly. We're coordinating with Singaporean authorities now, but it's going to take time. Their legal system is slow, and Martin has money for lawyers." Emily stood, her legs unsteady. "How much time?" "Weeks, maybe months." "We don't have months. He'll try again." "I know. That's why I'm putting you in protective custody. Safe house, full security, until we can neutralize the threat." "No." Devine stared at her. "That's not a suggestion." "I'm not hiding. I have a job to do, a clinic to open, people counting on me." "You'll be dead if you don't." "Then I'll be dead. But I'm not running anymore." They locked eyes, neither backing down. Finally, Devine sighed. "You're impossible." "I've been told." "Fine. But the protection detail gets upgraded. 2 officers minimum, rotating shifts, armed response team on standby. And you wear a tracker at all times, non-negotiable." Emily nodded. "Deal." The news coverage that night was massive. Federal officer killed in assassination attempt on Hawthorne whistleblower. Emily's face was everywhere again. The shooter's identity was revealed, a former military contractor with ties to organized crime, and buried in the coverage a single line that made Emily's blood run cold. Sources indicate the attack may be connected to Martin Cross, brother of Vanessa Hawthorne, currently residing in Singapore. Now Martin knew the FBI was onto him. He'd either disappear completely or escalate. Emily was betting on escalation. She went to see Victor the next morning. He'd seen the news, looked furious and worried in equal measure. "You almost died," he said when she walked in. "Almost only counts in horseshoes." "This isn't funny. I'm not laughing." Victor stood, paced his small apartment. "We need to end this, now, before someone else dies." "I'm open to suggestions. We go public. Everything. Every account. Every name. Every transaction. We dump it all to the media, to law enforcement, to anyone who'll listen. Burn the whole network down so thoroughly that there's nothing left for Martin to protect." Emily considered this. "The FBI won't like it. They want to build their case carefully. The FBI's case got Torres killed. Careful isn't working." He was right. Emily pulled out her phone, called Devine. "We want to release everything," Emily said when the agent answered. "Every file Victor has, every document Marcus Lang collected. All of it. Public release. Tomorrow." "Absolutely not. That could compromise ongoing investigations. Or it could save lives. Martin can't protect a network that's already been exposed. Right now, he's trying to eliminate threats quietly. If we make everything public, there's no point. The damage is done." Devine was silent for a long moment. "I'll need to run this up the chain. Give me an hour. You have 30 minutes. After that, we're releasing it with or without FBI approval. Emily hung up. Victor raised an eyebrow. You really going to defy the FBI? Watch me. 25 minutes later, Devine called back. You're authorized to release the documents, but we want to coordinate the release. Our press office will handle distribution to ensure maximum impact. When? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., press conference at FBI headquarters. You and Victor will both be there. Emily looked at Victor. He nodded. We'll be there, Emily said. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Torres, about the way his eyes had lost focus, about the blood on her hands, about Marcus Lang, and everyone else who'd died because they'd tried to do the right thing. She thought about her own life a year ago, invisible, dismissed, struggling just to survive, and where she was now. Director of a major corporate division, face of a justice movement, target of an international criminal. She wasn't sure which version of herself was real anymore. Maybe both, maybe neither. At dawn, she gave up on sleep, went for a run despite her security detail's protests. They followed in a car, keeping pace. Emily pushed herself hard, trying to outrun the exhaustion and fear and doubt. It didn't work, but it helped. The press conference was scheduled for 9 a.m. Emily and Victor arrived early, were briefed by FBI press handlers. There would be opening statements from senior officials, then Emily and Victor would speak, then questions from reporters. Keep it simple, the handler told them. Stick to facts. Don't speculate. Don't accuse anyone who hasn't been formally charged. What about Martin Cross? Emily asked. He's a person of interest. You can say that. But don't accuse him of specific crimes. The conference room filled with reporters. Cameras everywhere. Emily stood backstage with Victor, both of them wearing professional clothes that felt like costumes. You ready for this? Victor asked. No? You? Not even a little bit. They walked out together when their names were called. The lights were blinding. Questions started immediately, shouted over each other. FBI Director Hammond raised his hands for silence. We'll take questions after the statements. He spoke first, outlining the scope of the investigation. 47 corrupted legal cases. 19 government officials charged or under investigation. Hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud and embezzlement. Then he introduced Emily. She stepped to the podium. The room went quiet. A year ago, I was a nurse, she began. I worked for a wealthy family. I was invisible to them, just staff. When I saw something wrong, I tried to speak up. They destroyed my career, blacklisted me, erased me from every hospital database in the state. She paused, met the eyes of reporters in the front row. They thought that was the end of it, that I would disappear and they could continue stealing, lying, corrupting everything they touched. Her voice got stronger. They were wrong, because the thing about invisible people is we see everything, we hear everything, and when you underestimate us, we become dangerous. She outlined everything, the embezzlement, the offshore accounts, the bribes, the murders. Every detail that was safe to release. This isn't just about one family or one company, she continued. It's about a system that protects the powerful and crushes everyone else. A system where the rich can buy judges, prosecutors, police officers, where they can destroy lives and face no consequences. Her hands gripped the podium. That system is broken, and we're going to keep breaking it until it can't protect them anymore. Until everyone, no matter how wealthy, how connected, how powerful, has to face justice. She stepped back. The room erupted with questions. Director Hammond fielded them, then Victor spoke, then more questions. The conference lasted 90 minutes. When it ended, Emily felt drained. That was good, Victor said as they left through a back exit. Really good. It was the truth. Yeah, but it was also perfect for the cameras. Emily smiled despite herself. Maybe I'm learning. They stepped outside into bright sunshine. Emily's security detail immediately surrounded them, moving them toward an armored SUV. They were 10 feet from the vehicle when Emily's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She opened it. Well done. You've destroyed everything I built. Now I destroy everything you have. A photo appeared below the text. Eleanor sitting in her office at the Hawthorne estate. Then another photo. Margaret walking into the hospital. And a final message. Choose which one lives. You have 1 hour. Emily's blood turned to ice. Victor, she said, showing him the phone. His face went pale. We need to... An explosion cut off his words, not close, but audible. Direction of the Hawthorne estate. Emily's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Too slow, Martin Cross said. His voice was calm, almost pleasant. Eleanor Hawthorne is dead. Margaret has 1 hour. Unless you want her to die too, you'll come alone. No FBI, no police, no backup, just you. Where? The old clinic, where it all started. 1 hour, Emily, and if I see anyone but you, Margaret dies. The line went dead. Emily looked at Victor, at Devine, who'd come running out of the building, at the agents swarming around them. He has Margaret, Emily said, and Eleanor's dead. She started running toward the SUV before anyone could stop her. This time, she was finishing it herself.